I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is Monday, May 13th, 2024. Can everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez? Here. Ms. Bora? Here. Ms. DePayne? Here. Ms. Fabiano?
Here.
Dr. Peck? Here. Mr. Pirro?
Here.
Ms. Ratner?
Here.
Ms. Sharma?
Here.
Mr. Tefano?
Here.
Mr. Zeichner?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you.
In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published, an electronic notice provided by having the date, time, and place thereof posted May 10th, 2024, at all schools on the district website, Home News Tribune, Cranberry Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is our closed session resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4 through 6 through 10:4-21, to discuss the following subjects: harassment, intimidation, or bullying, matters protected by attorney-client privilege, confidential personnel matters. Following closed session, action may be taken. The discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Can I get a motion?
Second.
We shall be in closed session for about an hour, and we'll return to the public around 7:15. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. The next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the Public Board of Education meeting April 17th, 2024?
Motion? Second.
Can we have a roll call, please? Sure. It was the public, nope, the Public Board of Education meeting from April 17th, 2024.
Thank you.
Roll call? No. Oh, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, objections, abstentions?
Abstain on the part pertaining to the superintendent evaluation.
For the public?
No, my God, see, I got confused. I'm sorry, aye.
Okay.
We don't have enough paper here.
Can I have a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes from April 17th, 2024?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Ms. Ratner?
Abstain pertaining to the part pertaining to the superintendent evaluation.
Abstain for that also, please. Okay, the next item on our agenda is our student board members report.
All right, good evening, everyone. I hope you're having a lovely Monday. Okay, to start off, I'm going to start off with Applegarth. So for Applegarth, 4th and 5th graders took NJSLA tests for the first 2 weeks of May. Club Code has been going on throughout May after school at Applegarth. The amazing Applegarth PTA spoiled teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week, and many thanks go out to the PTA for delicious treats and ongoing recognition throughout the week. The PTA sponsored a flower sale on Friday, May 10th in advance of Mother's Day. Applegarth held a pajama day on May 10th to raise money for autism, sponsored by the Eagles organization. The school's fish tank competition is happening on May 13th and 14th. Over 55 teams came up with innovative and inventive ways to help reduce climate change. They will have the award ceremony at the Monroe Township Middle School on Tuesday, the 21st of May. Applegarth Student Council is sponsoring a walkathon for Leukemia and the Lymphoma Society on Wednesday, May 15th. Applegarth also held its first ever art show on the evening of April 30th, which was a great success. This Thursday, 5/16, the Applegarth Social and Emotional Learning Committee is sponsoring a volleyball game from 6 to 8 p.m. for the families. Applegarth Makerspace Committee is sponsoring their second Maker Day of the school year on Friday, May 17th. Field Day for the school will be held on Wednesday, May 22nd. The Principal's Book Club was rescheduled to May 28th from 4 to 5 p.m. The spring concert for the school will be held on Thursday, May 30th at Monroe Township High School. Accelerated math testing will begin on May 30th and 31st for grades 5 and 4. Moving on to Oak Tree. Oak Tree participated in a mindfulness week from April 29th to May 3rd, in which students practiced mindful strategies and created mindful items to aid with coping and calming. Students from Mrs. Rosenthal's and Mrs. Applegate's classes, along with the Grade 3 Unified reps, visited the high school on April 24th to participate in Unified Field Day. It was a wonderful and fun time for all students involved. Oak Tree demonstrated their soccer skills during the week-long World Cup soccer events, facilitated by Mr. Bohema, I'm sorry for the mispronunciation, and Mr. Kendall. Money was raised for the NFL Eagles Autism Program on May 10th with the Pajama Day. The PTA also showed their love and appreciation for staff with a week-long tribute that included a breakfast, lunch, and charcuterie day, and so much more. Grade 3 students will have orientation at Applegarth on May 24th. Oak Tree's Field Day will be on May 31st. Now for the middle school. Grades 6th and 8th have successfully completed NJSLA testing. 7th grade begins tomorrow for the next 3 days. On May 3rd, the 7th grade went on their annual Medieval Times trip as their culminating activity in their current social studies unit. On May 10th, the 6th grade students had a successful trip to Six Flags. On May 14th, the 6th grade band will be presenting their spring concert. On May 20th, the MTMS chorus will be holding their spring concert. Now moving on to Barclay Brook. During the week of April 15th, Barclay Brook students were encouraged to show kindness, gratitude, and encouragement. Each day, there was a themed kindness activity, including bringing in canned food items to benefit a local food pantry and showing kindness at home and at school. Throughout the week, students were charged with taking notice of whenever they saw a peer engage in an act of kindness. Students drew pictures or wrote about the acts of kindness, which were displayed in the hallway. As a celebration for filling their great big spots of kindness, students participated in a school-wide dance party. Barclay Brook students participated in the Police Unity Tour fundraiser on Wednesday, April 24th. Barclay Brook students and staff were invited to dress in their pajamas and donate $1 to the Monroe Township police officers, who are participating in the 2024 Police Unity Tour. This organization raises awareness for fallen officers killed in the line of duty, and some of the township officers will be riding in their remembrance. Students were excited to have Monroe Township police officers join them during recess on the day of the fundraiser. April 25th was Bring Your Child to Work Day. It was such a fun day to have the children of the staff members join Barclay Brook students for the day. Barclay Brook students who participate in the Unified program were excited to participate in a number of Unified activities this past month. On April 24th, the school had a Unified night at Barclay Brook where Unified pals were rotated with groups from special education classes. These Unified groups rotated through 3 theme stations where they completed activities including making sensory bottles, completing an obstacle course, and engaging in animal yoga poses. On April 30th, grades kindergarten to 5th grade, students participated in a district-wide Unified Field Day at Monroe Township High School, and on May 9th, they had their preschool Unified Field Day at Barclay Brook. Now for Mill Lake. Mill Lakers enjoyed a busy and bustling spring. They ended their April with their Unified Field Day at the high school fields, where students participated in various activities that the Unified team crafted. On May 1st, 2024, the Monroe Public Library visited Mill Lake School, where they outlined the summer events, provided resources, library cards, and lots of information. Also, on May 1st, and for the next few days, their Superstar Science Supervisor, Miss Daniel Drust, brought the Star Lab to the students of the lake. They were mesmerized by the tales of the galaxy and the stargazing that happened throughout their visit. The school had a very successful PTO flower shop from May 6th through May 8th, and just in time for Mother's Day celebrations. A big shout out to all the Mill Lake and Woodland PTO volunteers. May 17th is the Mill Lake's Field Day for grades 1 through 3. This year is sure to be a big success as the physical education teachers have planned fantastic and challenging activities for all to enjoy. And finally, Mill Lake will close out the month with visits from high school athletes, 2nd and 7th grade readers program, and another furry, fun, fabulous visit from therapy dogs. And lastly, a big thank you to all the staff members who contribute so much to the students at Mill Lake. Please know that you all are so appreciated. And now moving on to Woodland. On April 17th, some of the advanced band students participated in CJMEA Honors Band. These students performed wonderfully and had a great time meeting young musicians from other Central Jersey schools. The 4th and 5th grade art enrichment students went to visit Monroe High School and worked with Dave Varel's Studio 2 class. They worked on a project with the high school students and toured the building reviewing all the beautiful art displays. Thanks to the generous donation from the PTO, Woodland was able to rent Star Lab, which is a portable planetarium. Every child in grades pre-K through 5 at both schools was able to experience this awesome event. In addition to the use of the Star Lab during the school day, on Tuesday, April 30th, Woodland School hosted astronomy night with the assistance of the high school aerospace club. Woodland students participated in Unified Field Day at MTHS on April 3rd, along with additional elementary schools. Moving on to the high school. The high school also had a successful Teachers Appreciation Day, as you may have noticed walking into the school with the beautiful chalk. Additionally, the high school has AP exams ongoing from last week through this week, so students have been busy preparing through this great opportunity to earn college credit through taking these exams. And lastly, high school seniors celebrated their college decisions with a Decisions Day celebration organized in coordination by the Class of 24 advisors, officers, and the counseling staff. Thank you to all those who are involved, and congratulations to all seniors on their commitments. Thank you so much.
Good job.
Thank you for that extensive report. You had to cover all of the schools this month, so I appreciate it. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is our committee reports. Are there any committees that are wishing to give a report? Don't all raise your hands at once. Go, Ms. Ratner?
Okay, I'm still getting used to my PC trackpad thing. All right, so I have 2 reports to give. The first is the legislative action for now and community engagement report. The committee met on May 8th. Board members in attendance were Ms. DePayne, Ms. Sharma, Dr. Peck, Ms. Fabiano, and myself. The staff members that were present were Dr. Lehman and Mr. Meralda. The first item discussed was the Delegate Assembly Handbook. There were a record high number of resolutions submitted by other districts for this upcoming Delegate Assembly. There's usually 4 or 5. There were 14. I think there actually were 15, but 1 was returned. So the committee selected a few of them to discuss, and these will all be voted on this upcoming Saturday. Ms. Sharma will be attending the Delegate Assembly as the Monroe representative this upcoming weekend. A few of the resolutions that we discussed were regarding funding, and a lot of districts were looking at how we could possibly go over the 2% for specific reasons. Full-day kindergarten, mandating that statewide, as well as virtual learning. There was also one in there about artificial intelligence. Just really quick, for any board member who wants to see the handbook, it is available on the New Jersey School Board Association website. I believe it's under the About Us and then Governance tab. I can also send it out, or I believe Ms. Sharma has it as well, so if she wants to send it out, just to provide any input on the resolutions that are forthcoming. Next up was a review of some of the current bills being discussed by the state legislature. There was a discussion about S530, which is an update to the school meal program, and A2784, which would allow school districts that submit a second question in November to utilize those funds for the following school year. I didn't get a chance to see if that had been updated because it was in the wrong spot. But right now, which I know like some of us are very well aware of, you can only use funds in November for that current school year. So this would allow districts to think proactively, that's the word. This initiated a conversation regarding the April election procedures and whether it would make sense to return to a November election moving forward. Dr. Lehman offered the administration would gather information so that the entire board can make an informed decision. The committee was unable to get to the remaining items on their agenda, but we look forward to discussing these next month. We will be looking for as many ways as possible to get information out to everyone who lives in Monroe, as well as surrounding community, whoever wants to know. We want to engage our community as much as we can and look forward to working with everyone this upcoming year to increase community involvement in our schools.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Ratner? Ms. Bora?
Is it still legislative action or is it legislative advocacy?
We haven't approved it yet because it's a policy.
You're being by the book. I did have another comment on the discussion of moving the elections back to November. I've been a big proponent of doing that to save the $100,000, but I listened to your committee, the video recording, and I heard Dr. Lehman's comments. So we will bring it to the Finance Committee and have a detailed look at it, because once we move to November, we have to stay in November for 4 years. Mm-hmm. Anything that could
that could impact our finances in the coming year based on whatever Dr. Lehman said. Our only opportunity to go at that, like you said, in November we could address that year or the next year, but we would have to be prepared in advance in November. So this November is not a question, because we are not going to have an election this November. So if we need anything for next year's 2025, 26 budget, April is a chance to look at it. So I think what we would like, Ms. Allen, is to have some deliberations in Finance Committee as to what is it looking like. Whatever changes that are out there, whatever Dr. Lehman talked about in that meeting, and then make a decision. Thankfully, we have enough time.
Yes.
We have 3 weeks
Three-
in April. No, we've got to
Oh.
give it 3 weeks before the
In
date of
April,
elections.
yes, so in April of
So we have enough
2025,
time.
yes, we would have to notify the clerk that we would want to move the election to
To
November.
November.
Yes.
Right.
So we have enough time, and we should use the next few months to
Mm-hmm.
really take our time to deliberate on what our district needs. Whatever we did this year, I want to reiterate that $100,000 was very well spent. We did spend extra $100,000, but we were able to continue our programs as is without any cuts, and I know there are 7,000 students that are thankful for it. So we should definitely take the time to deliberate on it. Thank you.
And I do just want to say that one thing we found out, and I know you and I have discussed this ad nauseum, is that, like, what's the town near us that did it? Robbinsville. They actually submitted a second question, like an additional spending question in March. So I was curious how that happened, because I know we had discussed that the 2 opportunities are usually for
April
additional
and
spending,
November.
not for like a referendum for building, or April and November. But I guess that is not an option I would want to pursue, because it has the same cost as having an April election, but it is there. It doesn't necessarily, it just means that there is less of reason for us to be required to maintain that April. If we have that option, then it takes away the need for that as well. And then I also, I think we briefly discussed this in the committee. I don't know if, I don't want to put Mr. Gagliardi on the spot, but I might do it anyway. I know that when we had discussed the election switch last time, one of the things that came up was that you cannot move an election up
To shorten.
because it would shorten the terms of board members, and there had been legal action. But I wanted to just confirm that I was remembering that correctly, and if there was any other information. Oh, I get to share my microphone with you. Here we go.
So the short answer is correct, which is why the first time that if you move the election would be to move April of 2025 to November of 2025. And that was, to Ms. Boer's point, once you do that, you're staying there for 4 years. So that is perfectly lawful. As far as the question you raised about making sure if you're having a November election, there's flexibility if necessary to raise additional funds through a special question placed before the public. You said Robbinsville did it in March. So you would have 4 days, 4 dates during the calendar year when you can do that if it was necessary. I believe it's the 4th Tuesday in January, 2nd Tuesday in March, 4th Tuesday in September, and 2nd Tuesday in December. And you still have the availability to do that.
Anything besides November would cost us extra money.
Correct. Right. I agree that we should not pursue that. We should try to look at our budget as carefully as we can. It's just that it takes away that need for April in order to do it. Like, the Board of Ed election and the budget can be separated because of that, if that makes sense, because we don't have to vote on the budget anymore.
Mr. Pirro?
So if we move the election back to November, there's no cost to the district.
Correct.
So I think that would be the smart thing to do, is definitely move the election back to November, because why would we want to spend $100,000 every year? If it's 4 years, that's
Right.
$400,000. I mean, there's ways to make cuts, or there's ways to put a question on the budget. I've seen districts do it, put a question on the budget in November. It's just up to us to make sure that we have our facts straight. and
Right.
know where we are money-wise.
But based on what you
And
like
that's-
said, what I've seen, I agree with you, but I think that especially for those who maybe haven't been on the board for a long time, getting the information that's there, just so everyone's making an informed decision, would be most appropriate. We can continue the discussion in LACE, and then finance would probably be the other place to look at it. Depending on when the Citizens Advisory Committee comes to fruition, it might be a good thing to discuss in that committee as well if we haven't already voted on it.
Right. And if I can just respond to that, the only reason to not move it to November 2025 would be if we, for whatever reasons that might present in the coming months, changes to healthcare or anything else, if we do not have enough money for 2025, 2026 budget, and we might have to pass a budget in April with cuts, it might be better not to move it to November 2025, but to do a question in April 2025. Only if
Yeah.
we need to.
Well, I think the
Only if we
healthcare
need
doesn't
to.
matter. You could go over 2% for healthcare. You
Right,
just
so
can't go
whatever,
over
that's the
for anything
deliberations that
else.
we need to
Mhm,
do.
absolutely.
That would be the only reason to spend $100,000,
Mhm.
is to not make any cuts in our programs,
Mhm.
but beyond that, yes.
And then just the other thing I might suggest, we can do this next month in least, is possibly writing to our legislature to try, our legislative representatives to see if they can try to push the bill that allows us to submit for the future year in November. If they do that soon and we are proactive, again, ideally we don't have to do it no matter what, but then at least it gives us that option as well, and then there's really no benefit to it.
Did you want to speak?
Yes. So we started already having conversations, Dr. Lehman, myself, and Ms. Allen. So normally, the way the schedule works is Ms. Allen comes up with protocol and procedures. It's then shared with myself and Dr. Lehman. Of course, we bring in Mr. Tague as well, and Ms. McDonald. Ms. Schaller also in food service. What we're going to do this year is, instead of waiting for the normal September, which then brings us through the cycle of October and November, we're going to start the conversation now. So the it will be almost the pre to it, to see where we're at financially, because it is a savings, and it would be the right thing to do if we can move it back. But when we talk about cutting, it's not just programs. The only true savings, and we had this issue, is people. And you see that in our surrounding districts all around us. They're getting rid of 30, 40, 50 people, because one person almost constitutes $100,000. So if it's $5 million, you know it's, you know, how many people? 50 people. So I think one thing that the board will appreciate is, in order to provide you with the information, we're going to have our meetings in advance, and we're going to move the cycle up. So normally it's like September, and then they do their defense rounds, and usually by November. So we're going to move everything up so that when September comes, we already have a really good picture of where we are at financially. So I wanted to share that, especially share it with the public, because I think it'll be helpful, the 90 days change of moving it forward.
Thank you. Do you want to give your other, were there any other questions for Ms. Ratner?
Is there a timeline in terms of when you can move that to the election to November?
Just talk a little bit closer to your mic, Mr.
Oh,
Zeidner.
I'm sorry.
That's
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a timeline in terms of when you have to officially put in for the election to be held in November? And what
So-
is that timeline?
Yeah, we had until, I think it's
either
3
3 or
weeks.
6 weeks before. It's a certain amount of weeks before. It's a certain amount of weeks before the April election.
Yeah, so the
Ideally,
first
we
week in
would
April.
be able to make that decision far sooner
yeah.
than that. Like, I would love for us to know September, because then if we do want to look at that November, if it becomes an option, we have that. But the final deadline would be the either 3 or 4 weeks before the April date. That's the 3 weeks. Yeah, that's the legal words, if you will.
Ms. Ratner, do you want to give your other report?
Sure. So I was the substitute chair for the Citizens Advisory Committee, which met on May 7th, which was our very first Citizens Advisory Committee meeting. I know a lot of us were really excited about that. The board members in attendance were Ms. Alvarez, Mr. Piero, Ms. Fabiano, and myself. God bless you. The staff members present were Dr. Lehman and Mr. Meralda. The committee reviewed the processes and objectives that a few other school districts have in place, and we set a timeline to create our own list of goals based on the goals and objectives that will be discussed and created through our strategic plan, which, by the way, our third strategic plan meeting is this Wednesday, so we'll have a better idea of what we're looking at after that. We want to ensure that we get a diverse representation of our community so that all stakeholders have a voice, whether it's parents, adults who are not parents, seniors, staff members, students, a little bit of everything. We did have a discussion about maybe only having 18 and up to start, and then having students join us as well. Would love to see our student board member. And so we also discussed exactly what the meetings would look like. One idea that we had seen, Dr. Lehman had seen another district that had done it, was to have a featured speaker at each meeting based on what the topics that were being discussed. So that's something that we can certainly look at and we'll continue discussing. Next month, we'll continue looking at this. We'll be working towards creating an application, and then we want to ensure that it's then shared with as many members of the community as possible. So we'll look at the different ways to get the information out there.
Ms. DePayne?
Yeah, I want to thank Ms. Ratner for jumping in at the last minute and taking over my committee, which I was so excited to be a part of, and she did a great job. I watched the videotape, and there were so many good ideas from all the participants, and I just can't wait till we get it all together and get it out in the public and wait for the strategic plan finalization so we could see what the top issues are that the township people have stated, and that we could take those in consideration with the committee and then work hard at it. And I did listen to Dr. Lehman's ideas, and he had a lot of good ideas. So it's like a work in progress, as she said, but we're going to jump on it and move with it as fast as we can. So thank you, Kate.
Thank you. And we missed you.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Thacker?
Yes, so I just wanted to give my input on that a little bit. Since you did chime in about the student perspective, I just want to say that I think it's invaluable to have the student input. After 2 years of serving as a student member, I think that while I love my role, I think it can be amplified for future student board members to come. I think that we can always use more student input, and for a citizens advisory committee, a key citizen in this discussion, a key stakeholder is the students. And one thing that I would like to note, again, I don't know about like the legalities of this, and I know you mentioned that you want to start off with 18 or older. My only advice for this is a lot of the students that are 18 are going to be graduating before the next year. So if it is possible to expand it to include students under the age of 18, because I think that the amount of students who will be 18 in September is going to be a lot harder to find a diverse representation of. So I think it would be something to consider, especially if you want a student board member on and the student board member isn't 18 yet. I think that it might be valuable to consider having a younger student as well. Don't know if it's possible, but if it is possible, that would be outstanding. But I just wanted to say that the intent of having students' input is great, and I think that it is honestly very necessary because students are such key stakeholders. So thank you for that, and that's my advice for that.
Thank you. And
Thank you for your input.
yes, and I mean, I just want to say, like, having been here with you, you've given such enthusiastic reports. We're definitely going to miss you. I do think that it's important for us to include students as much as we can and get their feedback, whether or not that's having them as an official part of the committee or allowing different students to attend each month because it's like a standing committee. There's both ways to look at it. I also, I know we've discussed this before, would love to have, if we're able to, our student board members attend other committees as well. Like, there's obviously certain committees that, you couldn't, like personnel would be a committee, right, that students could not attend, but something, whether it's like a curriculum or a community engagement, I think that would be fantastic because, you're hearing a lot of what's going on, whether it's the student board members or if there's other students that are interested in doing it. And then, I know that Dr. Chanley has her,
I was just going to tutor the liaison.
I couldn't remember what it's called, the liaison, but for the board members then to hear the feedback as well, I think would be helpful. I don't know, I'm the person that feels like you can never get too much feedback. That might be a problem, but thank you for sharing what you did.
Did you?
So thinking, and thank you for bringing that up. So the liaison meeting that I have monthly, where I do invite the president and vice president, so you'll be invited, and really any board member can attend, is a luncheon, but it's really a working meeting. And the children that are on there that are selected from within the school are 6th grade all the way up to seniors. So I don't know how you feel about this, and of course the committee could discuss it, but perhaps we could extend, and I usually do it, I could make it work where it winds up being on the same day. So I usually do it on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I try and flip A and B day for them, for the high school children. But if we could extend it with their permission slip and so forth, if they're younger, to see if their parents would join them at the committee meeting when it happens. And of course, not to limit to only them, but that might be an easy way to start the students as participatory and then add on more students because they're already taking on that role. And a lot of the conversation that's going to be discussed is similar to this particular committee. So it's something just to consider.
Great. I mean, we can definitely, if Ms. DePayne is open to it, discuss that at the next committee meeting. And I'm glad that you had shared that any board member can attend, because I mean, I've heard about the lunches that are offered there. They sound really good. Those millionaire shortbread cookies, I hope they're there. See, I told you I'll never forget those. But I think that's definitely something we can discuss. And looking at the size of the committee going forward is also a consideration.
They definitely mentioned at the meeting that students was right up there with everybody else. So we definitely want the students involved, that's for sure. So don't think we won't forget you.
Is anybody else? Ms. Bora?
Congratulations. It's a great step forward for the community. So the Citizens Advisory Committee, and I appreciate your input, Hetty, and I do agree with her that, especially in Citizen Advisory Committee, it will be good to have students, whether or not they're 18, a couple high schoolers. My question, or my suggestion was that, given that we all have to be here a few times in a month, when we select citizens to be members of this committee, if we require them to be here every month for the whole year, it may be too much to ask. Some of them might be willing to do it, and some of them might feel like this is too much of a commitment. But based on the goals of the committee or the agendas, and I know this was briefly discussed, that what is it, we could look at citizens with expertise in that area to come to the committee. So maybe it can be a rotating committee where people aren't permanent members, like board members are permanent, but the citizens aren't permanent members of the committee. We probably take input, and when you send that form out, you look for areas of expertise in our in our community, and based on the agenda item and discussion, you send out an invite in advance to people with expertise in that area. And if it's related to students, then maybe a few students are invited, high schoolers, middle schoolers, who kind of contribute to the conversation, because I've been part of the student liaison, and they do come with great ideas. So based on whatever I know that'll require a little bit more advanced planning than other committees, but if you could plan your agendas 2 months in advance, you could shortlist the people who could come contribute. And this would give more citizens a chance to be part of it, and more students to be a chance to be a part of it. And I think that would just be a better synergy to that whole idea.
Actually, the committee did bring that up, and I have notes on a little piece of paper. They did bring it up. According to what we get from the strategic planning, depending on the topics of interest, we also would like to, like you said, invite somebody from the public, Dr. Lehman said, to speak with interest. And they will be sent out a cover letter with a form, and we'll have the interests on there. So we're going to get people, and we could say that, I mean, we have to decide ourselves whether it's going to be rotating, or, the committee, or this is going to be it for the year, once a month, and these are the topics. If you're not interested in any of the topics, then fine, then you don't belong. But if you have 2 or 3 interests and you'd like to belong to the committee to give your input, I think that's how we're going to approach it. Am I right?
Right. I mean, I think it'll be a further discussion next month. From what I understood, which is what I've seen other districts do, but we are able to create our own. You have the standing committee of people who are willing to commit, but then what we could do, if we know what the topics are that are going to be discussed throughout the year, is then say, well, this person has a great background in finance, and invite them to attend those meetings as well. So I think that there's definitely, we have a lot of great, valuable community members that have expertise in all these different areas. And so if we're discussing marketing and getting the word out there, if we have an expert from the community who wants to just discuss that, we can say, would you like to come? But I do think it's important for us to also have that standing group, just because you get that familiarity with everybody, and the same type of balanced input from stakeholders, which is something that I know we're going to spend a lot of time making sure that we get.
I think Mr.
I
Moralda,
apologize, I
not to
did not
interrupt,
hear
Mr. Moralda mentioned on the video, I saw it, that you had somebody had approached you about the Lego program. And you sat down with the father and son, and now it's across the board. So because of one parent and one child, we now have a program that was brought to us that we use. So you don't know, there's a lot of possibilities that can come out of this committee and to help the children of this district. So, I mean, believe me, it's right in the beginning, one time, one meeting. So we have a lot to discuss, but we want to get it out before the end of the summer so that we can start running with it in September. So that's what we looked at. So, okay?
Thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions? Anybody else want to give a report?
You go ahead.
I have two committee reports. The first one is the Curriculum, Co-Curricular Athletics, and Pupil Personnel Committee minutes. We met on May 7th. The board members in attendance were myself, Ms. Alvarez, Mr. Zeichner, and Ms. Fabiano. This was the first meeting with the addition of the Pupil Personnel Services to the other areas this committee deliberates on. The reasoning for this change is to provide a platform to highlight our special ed programs, focus on mental health initiatives, and also to be able to discuss the various social, emotional learning initiatives in the district. The first item on the agenda was a discussion on Capturing Kids' Hearts, which is a research-based program that Dr. Higgins, the high school principal, has proposed as a training for his staff on the first day of school in fall. This program equips professionals in K-12 education to implement transformational processes focused on social emotional well-being, relationship-driven campus culture, and student connectedness. Dr. Higgins took this leadership training himself 2 years ago on Dr. Critali's recommendation and found it to be extremely effective and much needed. Since then, a few more staff members in high school have done the same training. This program is becoming increasingly popular, with about 10% teachers trained in the country presently. This has not become so popular in New Jersey yet, but Dr. Higgins hoped that that will change soon. High school in Monroe will pilot this program at scale by training the entire staff in this SEL-focused workshop called Winning Cultures. Our hope is that if the impact is as we hope it to be, this can be then adopted across all schools in Monroe. I encourage everyone to read about this program on their website, capturingkidshearts.org. Next on the agenda was a discussion on summer reading list. Dr. Roselle explained how the list is put together every year and how some titles are added to include the recent award winners, and some titles are added based on the reading popularity and demand of books at the township libraries and class libraries. Each of the summer reading lists starts with a parent letter and lists resources that parents and students can use to get the most out of this list. The Monroe Township Library has a copy of this list and ensures that there are plenty of copies available and placed on well-marked shelves for patrons to check out even before schools are officially out. This year's list has a wonderful selection of genres, diverse authors, and topics for every reader to find something of their choice. Next, we discussed the TNARS New Jersey program that the district supports for grades 6 through 8. It's a 12-week audition-based program, giving our students the opportunity to get the exposure they need in a variety of performing, visual, and humanities-related art forms that they have the talent in but could use expert guidance. All students in middle school can apply, and the district covers the cost of approximately 18 students every year that get selected by TNARS to participate in this program. After this, we spoke about the annual legal training that is organized right here in our district for our administrative staff members for all things school law related. This is mandatory training, and we save a lot of money in travel costs by hosting it here, so our administrators do not have to travel. We discussed the yearly renewal of various contracts, including Schoology, Stukent, Avid, Marzano, and several athletic contracts. Avid is currently contracted for 3 schools, high school, middle school, and Woodland. We do not currently have the money to expand this to other schools, but we are getting creative in including elements of it throughout the district. Stukent, which was also discussed as a virtual internship stimulation tool used by our business department to give our students projects and assignments that can mirror real-life opportunities in the industry. It was very interesting to hear about. 2 contracts new this year were a coach evaluator tool, which replaces pen and paper method that has been followed this far, and the Perry Weather tool that will be used for effective weather-related forecasting, planning, and notifications. I encourage everyone to watch the meeting to see the discussions around some of these renewals. Lastly, we got an update from Mr. Meralda on the summer enrichment program. The registrations are open, and there is a huge variety of programs being offered through this ever-evolving initiative. Mr. Meralda shared that we were ahead of schedule this year, and he shared the trajectory of evolvement of the program with the committee, highlighting the improved offerings and management efficiencies that have been put in place. There was a discussion about how we will open up registrations to children of district staff members at a discounted price, and will also allow children from out of Monroe to register to increase the revenue from these programs. The outside district registrations will open after Monroe after Monroe residents have had enough time to register, thus ensuring that we give priority to our own residents. Registrations have been open for a couple weeks now, and after May 31st, it'll be open for residents out of Monroe as well. That was curriculum. Any questions?
Ms. Ratner?
I have two questions. So the first one is regarding AVID. I understand the financial constraints. But is there a way to, I guess, turnkey some of the information that the teachers get from the AVID training that then other teachers can utilize that to, I guess, teach some of those skills, even if it's not the official program, to the other schools as well?
So AVID is a program that was brought here 12 years, does that sound? Dr. Hamilton, so 12 years ago, I was one of the first site administrators. So what we're doing is our goal really should be not so much about the certification, but going school-wide with the characteristics that substantiate, and it means advancement via individual determination. And one of the main components of it is the WIC core strategies, which is writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. So we are absolutely doing that now. So I'm going to give you an example. So one of the things that's going to be coming forward, we're looking for curriculum writers, is in the 6th grade, we're going to be having this all-inclusive class. I think they're going to call it, they keep on changing the name, but no, instead of problem-based learning, CHAMPS. It's really a Success for All Students program. So it answers your question directly. So teachers that are trained in the AVID method will be able to work with other teachers that will be teaching this class. And the class will be a combination of having a child learn organization by utilizing the agenda pad that goes to every child. Having a child learn character education, is simply put, how to be kind, how to speak to people, good morning, good afternoon, what do you say when someone asks you how you are? Financial literacy, that's also a component in the 7th grade as well, will also be shared. Something as, no one keeps a checkbook anymore, but they keep an online, okay? So all these different things, and the core strategy is gonna be a main bulk of that. In the elementary schools, it happens to be school-wide in Woodland, but one of the things that Dr. Lehman and I have been discussing is what it looks like when you take those teachers that are trained, then to train the other teachers. It's very dynamic when you go to the training because there's different levels of training that we do in the summer, and it's definitely worth it. But one of the things that's been near and dear to my heart, and I know Dr. Lehman agrees, and I have to give a shout out to Dr. Critelli because she is 100% invested in this, is we really would like these strategies to be for every child. Because it's not a fair statement to say that if you're in the advanced classes or in your special ed classes or you're in classes, perhaps a basic skills pull out or push in, you're not getting these strategies. These strategies should be for every child. Whether you are academically, if you're fortunate enough to have academically more rigorous classes, or you have other classes in which you need more help, or you're just in it, maybe you're band or chorus and you can't take AVID because of the way it's scheduled. So when we start looking at these strategies, it absolutely is happening. So what you're asking for is definitely happening.
Is the CHAMPS in lieu of?
It'll be in lieu of problem-based learning. But problem-based learning class was a mathematics class that we brought in to give extra math because our scores were so low at the time, and this is going back approximately 12 years. But a lot of the elements of the problem-based learning is just thinking strategies, analytical thinking, working on projects, so you're really not getting rid of it. You're taking all of that sequence and all of that curriculum will be added to the CHAMPS class.
So 6th graders will have a half year of that and then a half year of a foreign language?
Every 6th grader will have that, and instead of 6th grade being half year for world language and 7th grade being half world language, they're now going to get full world language in the 7th grade.
Okay, but no full language in 6th grade?
Correct.
Okay.
So basically, it's the same content. And correct me if I say anything. Yeah, we're gonna be rolling it out. But I'm just so excited about it because it's an opportunity for and 6th grade is a big transitional year, socially, emotionally, mental illness, time. Time organization. Right. So having every child have this opportunity. We used to have character education, 15 years ago, and we don't have that anymore, but it's an opportunity to bring it back.
Right, yeah. I just know how valuable AVID is, and like you said, the note-taking time management strategies, even if you are at the top, right,
I agree.
It's still beneficial.
So now every child is 6th grade. So now the quest or the challenge is how do we look at what's going on in Woodland and copy that and make it appropriate. Why only Woodland? At the time, Woodland was one of our less performing schools. This is going back way before me, but that was just a fact of why it was selected. And now that's not the case.
Thank you for telling me that, because I always wondered why.
That was one of the reasons why it was selected. Now Woodland has scored exceptional, and we've had unbelievable, leaps and bounds. And I know that I've had this conversation with the supervisors, and they're doing so well. So now we want to look and say, how can we take that and turnkey, and it might be a few of the elementary teachers going to the summer electives, but it has to be more than that. It has to be more than that. So it's a very important concept.
Thank you for touching on that, because I did discuss that with Dr. Lehman in the meeting, that why is it only Woodland? And it turns out to be it's building-wise, the contract, and we don't have the money right now to start to build up in Brookside or Applegarth. But to Ms. Ratner's question, can we turnkey that and somehow, in some ways, because you talked about middle school, but is there some way to do it in Brookside and Applegarth as well?
Yeah, so Dr. Lehman, and he could, if he wants to speak on the way the creation of the professional development, because we have year-long professional development, then we have classes for professional development, but it's very realistic to create a cohort within the professional development, our own, so it's our own people, so there's no cost in outsourcing. I don't know if you wanted to touch upon that, the way we create that?
Yeah, I mean, we would just have to put something in place. It's not something that's come up on any of our surveys and things in terms of a needs assessment, but if that was an initiative or something that we needed to push forward, you know, we do have a core group at Woodland that follow the same structures and goals and processes that the middle school and the high school do. And there are some, and even the middle school and high school teachers, the core strategies are the same across the board. Middle school and high school have classes. The elementary program across the board it's a school-wide program. So it's just as simple as putting something in place for us, and the time and the priority. That's something, again, we spoke about this, we can put in a 5-year plan in terms of an action plan and things. You know, our immediate focus for the next 6 to 12 months is the multi-tier system of support, the response to intervention piece. And at its core, there are some organizational skills, but we're really looking at supporting students and their route to classification. We have a high percentage of classified students in the district, and we're managing that number as well as supporting students in terms of not heading down that path and putting interventions in place. And that's our primary focus, has been since we've been working with the American Institute for Research, and the state's involved with us now, which is a very good thing. They have a lot of support for us. I think the AVID piece makes sense to put in a plan for us, because that would be a significant, you know, we have so many people at the elementary level trained, so we'd have to be pulling them out and pushing out those strategies. So, you know, it's something we can put into place, but it's not something we've seen from a needs assessment across the board yet. We definitely hear the interest in the community because AVID's such an exciting program. And, you know, we also have our eyes for grants and things like that. You know, we'd love to formally train other schools and administrators, because the leadership in the school is essential to weaving that throughout your buildings. So, you know, we'd love to have the administrators in other buildings paired up, and we've talked about, and we did a committee, whether the next phase, if we do a formal rollout, would we go to Mill Lake and have a sister school pair, or would we go horizontal and look at a Brookside, Applegarth movement in terms of formal training and things? So there's a lot of things in play, but like I said, our primary focus for the next 12 to 18 months in terms of instruction, supporting instruction, differentiated instruction, and what goes on in the classroom, particularly at the elementary level, is our multi-tier system of support, because that is the foundation for everything in the classroom right now.
Thank you.
I have a question. Is the summer enrichment program, is that, how's that paid for? Is that by registration fees? Is it at a cost to the district, or is it all, the teachers pay, everything's covered by?
Summer enrichment is, I would say, no cost to the district in terms of we run it if we break even. So enrollment's up now, and I believe we're in the black in terms of projections for everybody currently enrolled.
I just want to make sure
Yep.
before we invite people from other towns in our town, that our taxpayers
No,
aren't
that's a
footing
good
the
point. The only, so let's counter that.
bill. Yeah. Okay.
So, Mr. Pirro, I'm going to counter that and say our credit completion, credit recovery program, we don't have a projection for that yet, because that comes together very quickly at the end. We hope to not have to run that, right? The goal would be to not ever have to run that. The realistic is we're one of the largest high schools in the state, and we're going to have students that need support, right?
Yes.
So we make decisions leading up to the summer as to what courses to run, and we have the financial lens and student benefit in a
Good.
very delicate balance.
Okay.
The goal would be to run those at a break even. We're not looking to
Yes.
operationalize any cost savings there. We also are unlikely to be opening that up to outside of the district, at least for this year. So we would be just looking but that comes together in like 2 weeks at the end of the school year. But we want our students set up for next year with the best success and best opportunities possible,
Absolutely.
and having them and offering certain courses so they don't have to double up on other ones next year. That's kind of how we're choosing and selecting to run certain summer credit recovery classes.
Okay.
So the goal there is to break even, and we can be cognizant and pair staff or classes together if we need to. We like to have the support, extra support that we always do, and that's what makes our students that attend our recovery program that much more prepared, is because we do what we do during the school year in the summer for them to support them.
Okay.
If they go and take an online course, flip through the PowerPoints, come back, I mean, maybe they get the credit for it, but I don't know that they're getting out of it what they would get out if they
Yes.
came to our classes. So.
Thank you.
Ms. Ratner?
Yeah, I did just have the second question, but I appreciate Mr. Pirro breaking me up, so it's not all of me. The summer program was actually my question as well. A little bit of a different take, though. First of all, it's a great offering. There's so many classes, so kudos to everybody who put that together. There's some classes I want to take, the Jersey food trucks one. But anyhow, my question was, I know that the rec program also offers a lot of camps that are similar, some of them. Do we collaborate with them to ensure, like, if my first grader is really dedicated to Legos, that they're being offered maybe different weeks, or is it sort of just we offer what we can based on staffing and go from there?
So I know there is a level of coordination, but not to the extent of we'll offer this from 8 to 9, so then your kids can hop in the car and come to ours from 10:30 to 11:30. So there is a level of coordination. There has been historically. We actually, when we are off cycle in some of our classes, we would send some of our instructors. This was the first year to pair into some of those rec camp opportunities. I think we've focused on our own program in most recent years. We're certainly not trying to compete against anyone, but we're looking at maximizing our staff's scheduling so we can effectively pay them, have them in here, and have the students with us, and that's our priority. But again, we're certainly not looking to compete with anyone. I think we offer different programs with different focuses, which is why ours are certain windows and not full days, and lunches and things like that. So it's a long-winded answer to say there is a level of coordination, but it's not down to the minute or anything like that.
Mr. Zegner?
Thank you. The AVID program, how many years has that been in the district?
Actually, it was probably before 2000. I think 2009.
Yeah, it's probably 15 years.
Yeah, probably about
9
15
years.
years. About 15 years.
15.
2009, previous superintendents ago brought it here to the district, and I was trained as the principal, and then at the time, Mr. Goodall was the principal, but that's why I referenced Dr. Critelli, because she has been a long-standing proponent of the program, and she has been here from the inception all the way on. So it's a program since 2009, I want to say.
Has it ever been assessed?
Yes. Oh, yes. And there's criteria, because I was talking about certification. So we do maintain the certification. There are AVID certification guidelines, and it's done at both the middle school and the high school and Woodland School. That is correct, yes.
Yeah, I just have one other item, if I might. I wanted to congratulate Dr. Higgins on the program Capturing Kids' Hearts. I went home and I actually looked it on the website. And I must tell you, it's quite a dynamic program. And as Dr. Higgins said, he's trying to change the culture at the high school. And I think this program might very well do it. My only concern, and you probably know where I'm going with this, is that any new program must have an assessment model. You can either do a Likert scale, but it has to be a quantitative assessment. And the reason I say that is because the community, whenever we spend money, we as a board have a responsibility to the community. they have a right to know when you start a program, has the program been assessed, and to what extent has the program been implemented? So I feel very strong about any new program must have an assessment model. So is there a need for a motion for this, or?
No.
Spoken like an educator, Mr. Zegner.
An email that had gone around, I had responded to, I believe you were on it, was regarding this, and I do agree 100%. And it could be something as simplistic as a Likert scale, which I agree. You know, most likely, not likely, agree, disagree.
Right,
And it could
exactly.
be statistically done. You could use, you know, SPSS or whatever, you know, something that's even old now compared to what they have. So we're going to be meeting with Dr. Higgins. It's something that he has been talking about for quite a long time. He's very excited because one of the things, one of my things is culture. That's what my dissertation was on, so it's all about culture. And we talk about there's so many great things that go on, but in the public and everywhere, sometimes the perception is that you don't have all these positive things, and it really does start with the staff. It starts with the principal, and then down to the vice principals, and then all the staff members. So when he discussed this with me, how excited he was about doing it on the first day, he's just excited to have it approved. But I do agree with you 100%, and that will not be a problem. So that's something that myself, Dr. Lehman, and Dr. Higgins can work with him, and we'll probably involve Mr. Moraldo because that's, you know, an area that he does. He's big on the assessments and as far as surveys, and we might do qualitative as well as quantitative. You know, the quantitative is the numbers, but qualitative speaks a lot. So I think it would be important to do both, and we can come back with that. And then we want to also look into the research and see, would you do it immediately? Would you do it 90 days? Would you do it 6 months out? Like, because it's also about timing. So I did respond to your email because I agree with you 100%, and that will
Yep.
not be a problem. So that will be done. You don't need a motion. You just
Thank
tell me
you.
you want it done, and it'll happen.
I
Are there-
appreciate that, Dr. Shanley. Can I go
Do you
ahead?
wanna
Did
do
you have a question?
Any other questions for curriculum?
Finance.
No.
Finance.
Finance.
Finance and Shared Services Committee met on May 8th. The board members in attendance were myself, Mr. Piro, Ms. Sharma, and Ms. Fabiano. Administrators in attendance were Dr. Lehman, Ms. Laura Allen, Mr. Tague, and Ms. Scholler. The first discussion during the Finance Committee meeting was about the Energy Savings Improvement Program. In the last few months, BG&T Committee had met a couple of vendors shortlisted by Mr. Tague for this program and unanimously felt that Honeywell was the vendor that we wanted to move ahead with. This program helps the district, like us, to do capital improvement projects that eventually pay for themselves using the energy cost savings. BG&T had moved this forward for approval to Finance Committee, and Ms. Jackson from Honeywell and Mr. Tague helped the committee understand the upfront financial implications to the district. There were 3 cost aspects discussed. After passing the resolution, Honeywell will present within 120 days an initial energy savings plan with several energy conservation measures. If at that point a district decides not to move ahead with the contract, then we would owe Honeywell $96,500 for the investment grade audit performed by them to create this plan. This is a highly unlikely scenario given that our district is looking for an out-of-the-box creative way to meet the infrastructure needs after 3 failed referendums. So this plan will be needed to be reviewed by a third-party engineer and NJ Board of Public Utilities, and there's a cost of approximately $10,000 to $15,000 that we will need to pay for. Also, a local government energy audit is required by the NJBPU, which could take 12 to 18 months due to the backlogs. However, there is a way to do this through an independent auditor, which would cost us $100,000. But Ms. Allen can include that in the financing for the project, and so the business office did not see that as an holdback too. The committee feels very confident about moving ahead with this, and this is on the agenda tonight for a full board approval. Just a quick note for all the board members that the contract was slightly changed this afternoon by our lawyers to just, you know, emphasize a few things in our favor. Timing of when we need to pay, insurance aspects, prevailing wages aspect, pre-qualification. So little things were added by our lawyer, but the contract essentially is same, and we are still going to go ahead and vote for this so that we can get that energy savings plan out within the 120 days. It could also help with the Applegate project. So we're going to stick to the current schedule. Unless anybody has any questions, this was passed out earlier. The second discussion at the Finance Committee was about the meds renewal and the school lunch prices. Ms. Cindy Sue Schaller shared with the committee that the price of school lunches in Monroe School District is on an average 80 cents cheaper compared to other elementary schools and 89 cents cheaper than other middle schools and 74 cents cheaper than other high schools in Middlesex County. With the minimum wages having gone up, it has become increasingly hard to provide the quality of lunches that our food services department takes pride in at the cost they have provided thus far. The committee agreed that it is only fair to increase the prices, and the proposal on the agenda tonight is to change the lunch price for elementary to $3 a lunch and middle and high school to $3.10 for the lunch. We will still be cheaper than the neighboring school districts in Middlesex County. Ms. Schaller shared that our lunch participation is over 50%, which is above average. Post-COVID, due to free lunches, we were at 75% participation, but we are now back to normal levels. She also shared that our free and reduced lunch enrollment, which is under 10%, but as a district, we are unique with some schools having 5% under enrollment and others having 13% enrollment in free and reduced lunches. The committee then reviewed the various contracts that are up for renewal, and all of them are on the agenda tonight. There were no concerns from the committee members with respect to the review of the attorney fees for the last month. The bill list was also reviewed, and we had a quick discussion on the cost of toners. We have budgeted almost 50% less for this big line item in the coming year, and Ms. Allen and Dr. Lehman shared how this has been a focus of Mr. Feldman and the ID department to optimize the printer use and thus find cost savings across the district. That's all for finance. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Bora?
Thank you.
I just want to say I'm very excited about the ESIP program. I know we had been talking about this for a few months now, and the potential return on, investment is potentially enormous. So I'm very excited that this is on the agenda for approval tonight.
Thank you. I want to reiterate that, to be able to do things that we didn't think was possible because we did not get the referendum passed. Little infrastructure upgrades, whether it's an HVAC or a chiller or whatever it is, with this program, just changing the bulbs and saving money. Looking forward to it.
Ms. Ratner?
I just have a quick thing. Just because you had mentioned that we have some schools in the district that are over 10%.
13%.
So I remember months ago we had discussed grants and that you have to have a certain percentage for certain things. Are we able to apply for grants for certain schools if those schools would qualify for free and reduced lunch, or just because this is the first time I knew that, or is it only district?
The way she explained it, it's district-wide.
Okay.
So the way the grants application works is every grant has a specific target and criteria. So it's not a matter of can we apply with our numbers. Our numbers are what they are, and then we look at grants, and if we qualify for a grant, we put in for it. So some grants are school-based, some grants are district-based. The district-based ones, sometimes are disaggregated by school. So I think everything kind of depends on the grant criteria.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, if there was a grant for Avid that, I don't know which schools are above 10%, but let's just say, because we had used Woodland before, Woodland was above that amount, then the money that might have been utilized for them if they received the grant could then possibly be used for other schools. But I guess that's really more in depth based on the specific grant and requirements and everything like that. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, committee reports. Go ahead.
Building Grounds Transportation Security Committee meeting was on May 8th at 7:30 here in the Media Center. Present board members were Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Alvarez, myself, Ms. Bora, Ms. Ratner. Staff in attendance was Dr. Lehman, Mr. Tague, Mr. Selby, and Ms. McDonald. We had a bunch of things that went on that night. The first one was we had a young man, Araf Modi, who's going for his Eagle Scout. He gave us a project proposal, and that proposal he presented to us was to do a map of the USA to be painted on the playground surface at Applegarth School. The committee and administration were highly complimentary of this proposal, and Mr. Modi's efforts, and offered full support to help him succeed in this project. Next, we talked about the Brookside School stopgap project at the Media Center update for the summer. Administration provided an update of the project and showed current construction ready for permit drawings. The district received a long-range facilities plan, minor amendment approval letter from the State Department of Education for the project. We proceeded with the next step in the process and prepared and submitted a project application for final project approval. Once the New Jersey Department of Education grants final approval, we'll proceed with local building permit applications in preparation for the summer construction schedule. We are going to do is we're going to put 3 smaller classrooms inside the media center for small learning classes inside of Brookside School. Right now, the kids are doing the work in the hallways, and we want to give them their own space. Next, we talked about the Eric Nord Safety Grant, which may roll into Brookside School. So administration noted they had success in applying for this grant in previous years, and we've used it for funds for CCTV camera installations, controlled access door upgrades, and maintenance safety equipment. Administration would like to apply for the grant again this year, identifying the Brookside School Stop Grant Project as a necessary safety project. The project addresses overcrowding at the school that results in small group instruction areas being conducted in hallways, which creates adverse safety egress conditions within the school. The committee advised Mr. Tague to proceed with this grant. We talked about the golf range site renovation. They advised us construction is ongoing with district maintenance staff and some specialty contractors. We're still awaiting delivery of the HVAC unit for the project. We should have everything else necessary to complete the project in time for a late June move-in by the special services staff who will be vacating the leased office space at the Monroe Commons. So Mr. Tague advised us that we will have Marietta staff moved into this building before they have to be out. And then next, we'll talk about the Applegar School project update. Administration provided an overview of the roofing, electrical, and HVAC projects that are scheduled to be completed at Applegar School under the ROD grant. The 1936 building roof replacement and building electric upgrades projects were previously bid. Awarded these contracts was pending final NJSDA ROD grant agreement approval. The administration is pleased to report to us that the approval was received on Thursday and that they will now proceed with awarding the contracts. The 1936 roof replacement should be completed this summer. The electrical service upgrade project will be started in the summer, and the work will resume likely into spring of 2025 when the transfer and other major components are received. In turn, we will continue with design and bidding for the HVAC upgrade projects, which were slated for completion in the fall of 2025. Administration also provided a schedule for these projects, so Mr. Tague pretty much had it laid out for us how we're going to proceed. He assured us that no major construction would be conducted during the school day. If there was construction needed at Applegar School, it would be done at either night or on the weekends when the children aren't present. But the roof will be replaced over the summer, he said. Next, we had our transportation overview. That's where we met with Ms. McDonald, who advised us that she is short 7 bus routes for the remainder of the school year due to resignations, drivers that are currently out on either medical leave or any other kind of leave. We are currently using our district buses for school field trips when the buses are available. So if we could provide a bus, she said, for a field trip for any school, as long as it doesn't interfere with the regular scheduling. She's looking to fill all her new positions by September, and depending on how many vacancies she may realize she has over the summer, will determine the amount of outside contract buses that we may go for. So right now, she has 5. We may look to go as much as 10, and the contracted buses would be used for high school routes, where we would keep our in-house busing for elementary and hopefully middle school if possible. We then met with our security director, Mr. Selby, and we just went over some security things that go on that are confidential. Anybody have any questions?
Okay, no questions. Moving on to personnel and policy.
Okay. The policy committee met on Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. President were Dr. Peck, Mr. Zeichner, Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Ratner, Dr. Lehman, and Mr. Maralda. Bylaw 0167 was brought back to the committee for revisions as requested following the first read at the April board meeting. The recommended edits were made, and it is now on the agenda for second read. Basically, we are just eliminating the stopping the clock. You will have your full 4 minutes to ask your questions, and then your answers will be provided as soon as you're done with your questions. Bylaw 0155 was updated to reflect the changes to the committee names and the addition of the Citizen Advisory Committee. There was also a discussion about changing the format of board meetings. The committee decided to make no changes to the order of the agenda at this time. And then there was also, we tabled a discussion on whether there should be a policy created to allow team members an option to work from home. That concludes my report for policy. Are there any questions?
Ms. Ratner?
Yep, I did just, I had a question, I guess, for Mr. Gagliardi. So our board committee policy, which we are updating to reflect our current committees, we change committees, I don't want to say often, but like this had not been updated to include legislative action, for example, because I think the last time it was updated was 2020. Is it appropriate for us to have, I can give it to you to look at here, but we have like the specific committees there, which I think we should do for tonight, but going forward, would it be possible to just not have the specific committees, or do you think it legally we should have the committees that are standing committees and then just change them annually to reflect that?
So, as I understand the question, it's whether or not I think you need to have these committees listed in your policy. So, I don't see anything wrong with it. As I'm reading this here, I would say that the way things work, if you want to express it this way, it's up to you. The board can say that the president shall appoint committees, as it says here. The president shall appoint those committees necessary for the welfare of the district and to facilitate the operation of the board, period. You can have language that says, these committees, the standing committees normally include but shall not be limited to the following, and then reiterate that it's left to the discretion of the president. I think that's probably a better practice than tinkering with the policy every year. You've articulated in the policy the way things normally work, and then you state something that is a matter of practice and is a matter of Robert's rules, which is that ultimately that decision is left to the discretion of the president. So I would just tinker with this wording and more articulately state that all of this is subject to the discretion of the president. Thank you.
Any other questions, board?
I had a comment about, I heard the meeting videotape, and there was a conversation about, I know Dr. Chanley was not present, but there was a conversation about remote work. And I just had a comment on that. It's a unique discussion for a school district, and I believe we cannot put administrators and teachers in the same discussion. Teachers need students to teach, and yes, remote work is probably not the ideal. If the students are in the classroom, the teachers probably need to be in the classroom. But we expect our administrators to, oh, sorry. Should I start again? Sure. So I was talking about the policy committee discussion on remote work, and my comment on that is that we cannot, when we discuss remote work, we cannot put teachers and administrators in the same perspective. Teachers would need students and themselves to be in the same space, whereas administrators are mostly working at odd hours. Currently, even when they come into to the office, once they leave the office, they're still working because we have sports that go on till 9 p.m. So, we have school that starts at various hours. So I don't think remote work is very well described because their hours are already so long. So if there is a consideration for remote work, we need to treat administrators separately than other staff members. And that's, I think, whenever we have that discussion policy, my feedback would be that we don't consider staff and administrators in the same boat when we have. I don't think there was a discussion.
No, we
but
didn't
did
have a discussion.
We had a discussion, right?
No,
No,
we didn't talk about it
we
yet.
discussed to table it.
Right, but there was some sort of a conversation
because
around
Dr. Chanley
it.
wasn't here.
Right, there was a conversation around it, right?
Not at the meeting, no.
I heard the videotape
No,
meeting.
we
There was
just
a
said that we
convers-
were tabling the discussion for
But there was
for
still a
further
little
meeting
bit
when
of
Dr.
discussion.
Shanley came back.
But there was a little bit of discussion in that committee meeting.
I think
No.
it was a very little bit just to suggest that it would be better to table. It was
Yes,
was
but
brought up.
To be
I'm just feeding
equitable.
off of the
Yeah.
discussion I heard,
Yeah.
and I felt like that didn't talk about, there was a
Equity.
talk about,
There was the word
yes.
equity came up,
yes.
and then we talked about tabling it.
Okay, so just feedback on whatever I heard in the
Yeah.
committee meeting. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Personnel.
Okay, so the Personnel Committee met on Wednesday, May 8th. Present were Mr. Payne, Mr. Piero, Ms. Fabiano, Dr. Lehman, and Dr. Chanley participated remotely. The vacancy list was reviewed. There are currently 6 open positions due to retirement, 2 of which have been filled via transfer. There's 8 open positions due to resignations and 3 open positions for the positions that were listed in the budget question that was recently approved. So those positions are on our vacancy list as new positions. We also reviewed the exit interview, and based on the results of that, 3 resignations were due to the people moving, 3 were listed as personal reasons, and 1 person accepted a position elsewhere. I also want to highlight that currently we have 13 bus driver vacancies, 11 of which were due to resignation. So there may be more based on what Mr. Piero was saying, possibly after the summer, but currently, right now, there's 13 vacancies that we're looking to fill. We also have the Teamsters contract is up for renegotiations, and that process is beginning shortly. And on tonight's agenda is the Monroe Township Board of Education Support Staff Association contract for board approval.
Any questions? Okay. That concludes our committee reports. Our next item on the agenda is public forum for agenda items only. Anybody wishing to speak may come up to the podium. Please state your name and municipality for the record.
Hi, can you hear?
Mhm.
My name is April Gardner. I live here in Monroe, 67N Amherst Lane. I have never come to a board meeting before. I've never had any children attend any schools here. I've lived here 8 years, but I was brought to come here tonight because I was concerned over the public question wording. Then I copied it. I didn't have my ballot, but I was able to get it off of the New Jersey School Boards Association, okay? But this ties into your agenda, so that's why I'm at the agenda. But first, I'd like to address agenda item 2, roll call. I'm just sitting here, and I think it would be nice to have everybody's name listed, who serves, and also what their title is. I didn't know who the president of our Board of Education was until somebody told me. So it'd be nice to have that listed here. I've never seen a board agenda without titles for who serves. So if everybody's name was there, that would be nice. So this ties into this, and it would be items number V, W, X, A, C, B, O, B, Q, and I also have AE here. And what they all tie into is what perked me here. I think that for clarity and for alignment to NJDOE certification and licensure titles, that you should use them, because the title of autistic teacher doesn't exist. The title of, I can go through here, but I think that it would be more professional and also would follow FERPA guidelines better if you use the general titles. Also, it would be a better management tool, because instead of approving someone to be, let's just say, off the cuff grade 2, if you put them elementary and you had to move them, you wouldn't have them in one pigeonhole and then have to have a board resolution. I'm just looking at the big picture. So that's what perked me, because I saw here, and it ties into this, that you had one autism teacher, okay? That doesn't exist. It's teacher of students with disabilities, teacher of the handicapped. It's about it, and that's true. right? So that's what I would like to change. And the reason that I say it ties into FERPA, and let's just say there's a parent named April, and she has a child who is in a self-contained class. And self-contained classes cover a lot of different students, right? But they see that the bus aide has their name here with like a BD, MD, whatever, and bus aides don't go by that. They're an aide. A para doesn't go by that. So I think it would be better that we preserve the students, their integrity, and go with FERPA. You know, let's just stick with what can go in a, I don't know, your yearbook. That's the bottom line, okay? And I'm speaking as a parent who had a child in self-contained special education, and from 3 years of age, youngest one ever went into Toms River Regional Schools, in fact, till 4th grade. Then I held him back, and he's perfectly fine. In fact, I'll share, just so that you know my perspective, he was aphasic. Okay, so what are you going to put, aphasia? But 7 years, everything came back, and he was fine. It was from his shots. He had undetected many strokes. So that's why I'm here. I would like you to follow certification. Time is up, so now time for my answer,
Sure,
I
thank
guess.
you, and thank you for your comments. I'm just going to address the agenda. So all of our names are listed on the front of the agendas, but, I mean, I guess we could add the titles. Vice President and Vice President, if that would be helpful.
Not a problem.
Sure. And then, Dr. Chanley, did you want to address the agenda?
So, and I'm not saying in any way that you're wrong, you know, changes change sometimes. I will let you know that the agenda that we follow, it has been the agenda that's been in existence probably 5 or 6 superintendents before me, but taking into consideration what you're saying, and I do want to speak on the question separately, but taking into consideration what you're saying, I would like to take your feedback, and I would like to have the discussion with council, would be the right thing, as well as our Director of Human Resources, who then guides, I don't want to say dictates, but then guides the people that do the agenda to see, to make sure that we are, of course, not violating FERPA, and what is the reasoning with the particulars. I think the particulars, and I do respect exactly, and I hear what you're saying, I think the particulars of the detailed classes is really for transparency. It truly is. I do observe the right, and actually there's an actual resolution. You are right. We can move a 2nd grade teacher to a 4th grade teacher, and just so you know, we are very detailed. So I work directly with the Director of Human Resources, and we make sure that every certification, if someone's being moved or wherever they're placed, is appropriate. Your one feedback, and I'm not saying you're right or you're wrong, but of course, you know, I work at the bequest of the board and the president. If you would like to agree, I'd be happy to have that conversation with Ms. Gagliardi and our Director of Human Resources to say, what could we do differently? Perhaps we would not make all the changes that you outlined, but perhaps some of the changes would be made, like you said, MD for multiple disabled, perhaps that doesn't need to be there. I do want to comment, though, on the question. I feel that in order for transparency, we asked our community to, I want to say thank you to the community, which we keep on saying. We didn't want to have to cut any teachers like our surrounding districts are. We didn't want to have to cut anything. So we asked our community to come out, and we said we need $2.7 million. This is why we need it. And we were so detailed that we literally said that we needed a teacher of autism. And you're absolutely right. There is no certification for teacher of autism. There's 2. Teacher of handicapped and teacher of special education, depending upon what year you got it. They can teach anything. Our autistic teacher, if you're teaching an autistic class, if you have a special ed certification, anybody can teach that. But we wanted the community to know you are paying money to say, yes, we hear you, and you are creating a new class, because one of my things is to bring the people that are taken on the other side of town, the children that are driven all the way to the other side of town and do not go to school with, let's say, brothers and sisters or neighbors on this side of town because we don't have the program. So now we're bringing one of those programs to the other side of town. So we did that for clarity. We did that for transparency, and we did that to say to you, it's your money, mine too, I live here. So it's our money, and this is what you're spending it on. So I would have to say thank you for your feedback, but on that, I would still want to adhere, if the president agreed, if we did it again, to that. However, on the other things that you've commented about, that's a conversation that can be had. That is not a problem. And then if we have a question or the public has a question specifically and we're allowed to answer it, because I would imagine we are, since we're allowed to print it, then we could possibly answer it. But that's something that I would absolutely, I take what you say very strongly, and I understand why you're saying it. I understand exactly why you're saying it, and I'd be happy to have that conversation, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for volunteering.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I do appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. George Gunkelman, 5 Kelly Court, Monroe. On page 44 of the superintendent's report, I had some questions. I know these are just little housekeeping items, but, and the first question I had was about L, the AVID thing. AVID has been explained quite thoroughly a few minutes ago, but no one ever said what it stands for. So what does AVID stand for?
No, we didn't vote for it, so, do you want her to answer now, or do you want to keep?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Item M on the same page, huddle. What is huddle? And exactly what is a sports technology platform that we need to have? Okay. Item O. It doesn't quite make sense to me that there's no cost to the district. Are they taking fees out of what people pay? How much are they taking? If someone buys $100 worth of tickets, how much is left over after this service takes their fee?
I'm looking at Ms. When you're done, I'll answer all your questions.
All right. The other one is on Q, $36,000 for a learning management system. What is that, and why do we need it? Now, the big question that I have, those are minor, and I don't want to take up much time with them. The Applegarth roof, how much is the contract that's being awarded? What, if any, warranty do we get with it? What is the projected life of the new roof? And how, in the contract, is it entirely included? Are there items, are we going to get hit for extras? Is it the contractor's responsibility to define if there are, for example, hazardous materials that are more expensive to dispose of? Or does it come back to us if they find something? Is it all-inclusive if we close? Is it a tight contract is what my question is. And that's all my questions.
Okay. Dr. Shanley, did you want to address the agenda items?
I'll be happy to. I don't know if they'll go in the same order as you asked them, but I'll hit them all. So let's start with AVID. So I did say it a little bit earlier. I apologize. I speak very quickly. So AVID, A-V-I-D, is advancement via individual determination. And it's a program that basically packages together best practices. And it started out truly in inner city schools. And we took a program that is a wonderful opportunity for individual determination to be at its highest level for all of our children.
The program was explained well.
Oh,
I just
no
didn't catch what it stood
Huddle.
for.
Huddle is an online sports platform that we've had here for many, many years. It allows the Huddle, it doesn't stand for anything, that's the name of the company. It allows for the streaming of the sports events of our children. So our children play a football game, our children play a basketball game, our children play a tennis game, whatever it might be, and it allows for that to be streamed through, I guess cable's not the right word, internet, because it's not cable, streamed. And it also serves a couple of purposes, because when we have people looking at films for children that possibly may get scholarship, the schools, the universities will utilize that platform. So that's what Huddle is. GoFan, which we are very pleased with because it has upped our sales. Did you want to, I have it in front of me, but you want 5%, and that's at a max. So we have general admission tickets for GoFan. It's $1 fee for $10 or less. Anything over $10.01, it's 5%. plus the dollar, and full year tickets, if you wanted a season ticket, is 5% plus $2, and that's the largest amount of money as the fee costs. And we've had a large increase in ticket sales because people do prefer to do that. They'd rather go online, pay a little fee, and know they have their ticket before they get to the gate. And you also asked for Schoology. Schoology is a program that is utilized right now explicitly in the high school. We have had conversations about possibly bringing it to the middle school. It's an online learning platform where the children can interact with their teachers from the process of not being present. All the work can be uploaded, and it's basically an information management system. So if you think of Google Classroom, which is heavily used in the elementary schools, Schoology is heavily used in the high school, and it's really a wonderful opportunity for the kids. And I think I hit everything except for the roof, which I'm going to acquiesce to Laura. I don't know if she has the information. If not, I'll have to have Mr. Tague provide you an email if you like. He's not currently, isn't able to attend this evening.
Yes, that would be best.
That would be, I don't want to, if I think I may have the answer, I think it's appropriate for him to give you the details.
So can we have him leave his email
Yes,
address?
please. We can have Ms. Tagliaferro, Mr. Morale to take your email address, and we can have that question answered for you.
All right. I think at a previous meeting, we requested that Mr.
And
Tate
he,
be at
and he
meetings.
did come at a lot of the meetings, but he, like it happens, he wasn't able to come this evening. But he was here at the last two meetings, but he's not here this evening.
Well, and no one knows what how much the contract is for.
Well, there's a
Mr. Tate
bid.
is the only person who
It-
knows that.
No, it's a bid.
There's a bid for on tonight that's being awarded.
Awarded,
but
so it
that's
hasn't been awarded yet.
Partial, that's
All
just
right.
one bid.
Right.
The whole
but you have
contract-
something ready to award.
Yeah,
Yes.
just not rewarded yet.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, the whole project is 3.1 million, I think, for the roof, but this is one bid that's on the agenda tonight for $382,000.
$382,000.
One contract that is being awarded tonight is for $382,000.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And who do I give?
Oh, it's right behind you. Mr. Morale is sitting right there. You can give it to him. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Sarah Aziz. I live in Monroe Township. I would like more information about the proposed CHAMPS program for the 6th grade next year, which Ms. Chanley just brought up. What are the implications of this program, and how will it affect the number of teams and the teachers who have been certified in these content areas? Have the teachers been trained in this program, and where is the description of this program? Is it like AVID? Why does this program replace the PBL Math and World Languages program in 6th grade? I'm concerned about the elimination of the civics course in 7th grade. Why weren't these major decisions vetted by the curriculum committee in advance? I would expect some board deliberation on these issues so the public could weigh in.
Dr. Chandler?
We could both respond, but I'm not going to be giving you any particulars this evening because they will be weighing in. These classes are proposals that we're very excited about, and just so you are aware, any type of class, whether it be AVID, PBL, or this CHAMPS class, is not a requirement. It is above and beyond the requirements of this district as per state requirements. So what we're doing is we're giving our children more. PBL was something that was created when I was the principal, and basically it's all about analytical thinking. There is no content, no value of the content in it except for the analytical thinking. So taking that analytical thinking and applying it in another course in which where they get that plus well-needed other avenues is something that's a discussion. It will be brought to curriculum committee for conversation. And what we deem how we want to schedule is an administrative discretion because it is not a requirement. They will actually be getting the world language supervisor as well as the teachers are very excited because instead of having a half a year and then a half a year, they're going to have a full, strong year because the purpose of the world language is to get them ready for high school. So it's really about, it only needs to be the opportunity to give them a splattering of the language. You could, the only thing we offer is Spanish and Italian. You could turn around and take Latin and French, and French we offer in a very small class size. So we will be sharing this at curriculum, and you're welcome to wait till we see it then.
Is CHAMPS an acronym for something?
Yeah.
What does it stand for?
I don't know what it.
I changed it. I had success.
I think Just to build on, I think it's appropriate to wait for this to be rolled out by the supervisors involved. The building principal will be on site, the assistant principal that are working on this. Again, this is very early in the deliberations. It doesn't impact, how many teams are in the building or anything like that. The only thing that drives staffing is student enrollment. But I think, it's something to look forward to as we develop these documents, and it's something we do every year as we tweak. We add courses to the high school, we take courses away and things, so it's a standard process. I think it was a little sneak preview by Dr. Chanley today, and more information to follow.
Okay, and civics was eliminated, but I thought that was a state mandate. Am I wrong?
I guess I should have waited for her to finish her questions. Do you have any other questions? Because we want to follow
No,
the
I
same
don't have
protocol.
any more questions.
Okay, I'll be happy to answer it. Civics was not eliminated. Civics is required as per the state, and we were actually the first school to do it before it was a requirement because we take it very seriously. I know there's members of the public that agree how important, and I personally believe civics is very important. What we've decided to do is that it makes more sense, and this is coming from the administration as well. I'm looking at him because it's one of his supervisors. So civics is going to be integrated into the 7th grade curriculum where it has an appropriate sequence during the 7th grade due to the other content where they do Rome and Greece, and then it's going to be continued into the 8th grade, which is U.S. history. So it's the appropriate things rather than just having it in a class where they just do projects. We want to show the value of it within how the systems work. So it is not being eliminated, and we are following state procedure, protocol, and all requirements.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening, Raghu Chituri, Monroe Township. I have 3 questions. One is on the AP updates, AP exams. I know Monroe Township allows the students to attend AP courses based on certain recommendations from the teachers. If a student attends in a private setup, like a PEDIS, or maybe at a Middlesex County or wherever, other places, can he or she write the AP exam without taking the classes in school, the AP courses in the school?
Oh, you want
No,
to
you,
answer this question?
well, we haven't changed
Oh, we
the
haven't changed the
policy,
policy.
so go ahead.
Yes. So a student who meets a prerequisite in order to take an AP exam, and that depends on the exam as to what the prerequisite would look like, would apply to take the exam, meet with a counselor, make sure that they have the appropriate background, and then they can sit for the exam. So do they have to take the course in Monroe Township and then take the exam? No. They can, as long as they have an appropriate course background, they can sit for an exam. But that is reviewed by the high school counseling staff to make that determination in collaboration with our administration.
I didn't get on the collaboration part, who defines it? Right now for the high schoolers, we know for sure that we are allowed to take courses in PEDI or maybe some few county colleges, right? Likewise, for an AP exam,
So the guidance counselors will sit with the student and the parents, if appropriate, and determine if they have the appropriate coursework to sit for an exam.
Okay.
We do offer students who don't take an exam the opportunity to do that. It's not something we have to do, but we feel like, just as I think I get the vibe that you're asking, we feel like it's an open access test as long as you have the right background.
Yes.
So we don't want somebody to sit for a bio exam if they've never had any bio instruction yet, just for the sake of trying to pass a test. We want to make sure that they have some sort of biology coursework that would be sufficient for them to sit and take the exam. Does it have to be the Monroe Township AP bio course? No, but it should be equivalent, and exact what that looks like is really individual, and that's why they meet with the counseling staff and or the administration to make that determination, and that goes for any other exam as well.
Thank you. And the second question is about the taking credit or summer courses in PEDI schools for the high schoolers, right? Are we allowing the incoming freshmen at high school to take those courses and also get credit? No?
No. So in order for credit, and this is not a Monroe thing, in order for credit to be counted, you have to be a high school student already. Not the summer before your freshman year, you already have to be a high school student. So any of the courses that students take over the summer would be their sophomore summer, right after their freshman year, before their sophomore year. And that's not a It's not a Monroe thing, that's a state thing.
Thank you. And last question is about the personal finance course at high school. Is it included this year as a summer program? Personal finance?
Nope. So we don't have any 120-hour programs this summer. We don't have the structure in place for that, but we are working this summer to put that structure in place. Mr. Meralda, who's right over there, is in charge of our summer programming and the staffing and the entire, just putting a structure in place so we have nursing staff and security here for the entire day, because it basically doubles the amount of time we'd have to be in person for a 120-hour piece. And it wouldn't necessarily be that credit, the personal finance piece. It could be some other courses as well. We're looking for a nice, robust offering. We're looking probably for next summer. It's most of the students, many students have already committed to other locations. They've already paid for their courses and things. So we're going to take the opportunity to get our 120-hour curriculum in place, courses identified, and the structure put in place so we can have our students identify what they want to take prior to even selecting courses next year, right? So they can have an idea of, these are the courses I want to take, but this is what I'm going to do in the summer next year.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Doug Ploy, Monroe Township. I'd like to begin by welcoming the 4 new members of our board. Okay, that includes the new representative from Jamesburg. I wish you well, and I hope you serve our students well. I'm trying to do this in the order of your agenda and looking at the superintendent's report under personnel. This is a suggestion for improving transparency. Personnel items I through P provide for staffing enrichment activities, end of the year summer work, summer work, and prior to opening of schools for counselors, and then there's various staff for graduation. So that the members of the board and the public are aware of the cost of these provided services, would it be possible going forward for the total cost to be included in each item? I doubt that many members of the board know how much they're voting in terms of the cost when they vote to approve item L, for example. So what I'm asking for is for each item in future agendas, if you would consider including what is the total cost of that item. I think that would help improve transparency considerably. Next is a question. Item P does not indicate how many hours each person being approved to staff project graduation, whether they'll be working 4 hours, 6 hours, or 10 hours. I know project graduation often extends over the night. So I think for purposes of completion, it would be a good idea to include how many hours you're approving for each of those, and that might simply be an oversight. It's just something that I noticed. Next is a comment. This refers to item AC, which contains the salary guide for teachers. And then item AD, which contains the salary guide for secretaries. And I noticed that a first year 12-month secretary will be paid $59,600 minus $1. Whereas a teacher with 5 years experience and a college degree who works with our children will be paid only $59,382. In other words, you're going to be working here in the district for 5 years before you even come close to what a first year 12-month secretary is making. I think that raises the question of what do we value more? And going forward, because I know all these things are negotiated and they're locked in, but going forward, I would seriously urge this board to consider what your starting salaries are for the various occupations. I don't intend to denigrate what our secretaries do. I know they do a lot of work. I know they work 2 extra months, but they haven't invested 4 years of their life in preparing to be a teacher. and they're not working directly with our children. Item AD mentions that some staff will be paid 107%, others will be paid 114%. Some will also be getting a base adjustment. Do all members of our board understand why some are getting 107%, 114%, and a base adjustment? I think some explanation of that would be appreciated. And finally, item AH deals with our security staff, but does not specify their number of days. I am assuming that it's 180 because that's the standard school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Taylor, did you want to address those?
So I really can't go into the particulars as far as the discrepancy between a fifth-year teacher and a secretary, because I was only a consultant because I do not negotiate, because my husband works in this district, everybody knows that. But and neither does Dr. Lehman, because his wife is part of the NJEA. But in our roles as consultants, we can let you know that all we do is give our input, and then through the negotiation team, the monies, how it's separated, is based upon the MTEA. So we don't really, and I'm not disparaging anybody, just making a factual statement. So as far as where the money starts and where it goes, we have say through our attorneys, but limited say on how they allocate their monies. I would like to also let you know, and don't quote me, I know people love to quote me, I don't know if it's 260 or 240, the number's in my head, but a 12-month employee is either 240 or 260, I apologize, it's off the top of my head, whereas a 10-month employee is 180. And secretaries tend to work an hour or a half an hour longer. So there is a difference. And I'm not saying that teachers, if I had my way, I'd give them $90,000 to start. I'm just giving some examples so I can give you some, which is what you want, basically, to say, well, here's the differences. And I do agree with you. A secretary and a teacher, yes, one works directly with children, but without a secretary, we're nothing. So I do think that's part of the reason. As far as how they separate the money and where it goes, that's it really an MTEA. I can, however, explain the 107, 110, 114, 116. It's how many extra days they work and how many extra hours. So depending upon the employee, some of our employees, I'll just use child study teams, some of them work an extra hour a day. Some, depending upon the school, come an hour earlier. Some stay an hour later. That has something to do with over the 100%. Some work an extra 7 days in the summer. Some work an extra 14. When we first did our hiring, we used to require everybody to work 120, and then we weren't having people buy into that. It was too many days. So that is what the difference is. As far as the other comments, I'll be happy to discuss with the president and then discuss with the Director of Human Resources and Ms. Allen regarding the total aggregate amount of money that's spent on the other things. Project graduation, I know you're absolutely right. It's like an overnight because it's a boat thing, and overnight. I don't have the particulars. What we can do is say up to, which might be, and we do usually do that, so I will be happy to look into that, and all of your feedback was very good. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Hello. Shell Arminio, 9 Nathaniel Street in Monroe. I'm also going to try to go down the list. Let's start with page 44 and the bylaws. I would like to thank this board for bringing back the alternates on policy. Let's see. The board committee's policy, bylaw 0155. Okay. I think that's important. I see that there are 2 alternates, the board members and 2 alternates. As I mentioned in the last meeting or meetings previous, I believe it's very important that the committees are fully staffed with the 5 because we need everyone's input, not just a small group of people, trying to, create a very focused position. So I'm grateful that you've changed the policy for that and put alternatives back. And hopefully what'll happen is, because my experience was if someone, even last minute, was unable to attend that was on the committee, either, figure out who's going to call. Either that person call the president and the president call the alternates, or that person call. But it really is essential that we have 5 people on. And I know the president's going to be doing a lot of work on all the committees, so thank you in advance for that. Going next to the policy, the bylaw 067. I am a little bit disappointed that you won't be stopping the clock for the public. I don't think it's all that much of an addition to the timing, so that disappoints me a little bit. Maybe you'll reconsider that. And also 5A, it seems a little bit too broad to, you can interrupt, warn, terminate a participant's statement, question, or inquiry when it's too lengthy. Again, that seems to be a subjective issue about something being too lengthy. I would hope, especially, unfortunately, we have the board today, but we also are doing these policies for future boards as well. So sometimes things are too abstract or too vague, but I know this board will be very judicious about that and give the public really an opportunity to speak. And sometimes people's voices or their manner of projecting may seem irritating, but I hope, again, that this board can, figure that out and be judicious about that. And I've always been objecting to D, the request assistance of law enforcement in the removal of a disorderly person. Again, what does that mean? A disorderly person, someone who raises their voice or someone who poses a threat? So far, I'm not sure that we've had serious threats with that. So I hope, again, we don't use law enforcement to intimidate or create a chilling effect on the public. Okay? Thank you for that. And I think I'm okay on page 44. Going to, how much time do I have? Oh, the closed session resolution. Also, I hope this new board will reconsider. Are we for the last closed session resolution, it says if necessary. Is there a closed session resolution necessary in this meeting tonight?
No.
Okay. I think that should be stated. It is not fair to the public. What if there was an issue that you just decided this meeting should be a closed resolution and people did not put that into their schedules? Please, I know an emergency may occur, but if pretty much you're not going to go into a closed session, please state that because the public needs to be informed. Sure. And I have more, but thanks anyway.
Thank you, Ms. Arminio. So I do just want to address policy 0167. Thank you. And with regards to the stop the clock. So this has been a discussion with the policy committee for the past couple of months now. One of the things that I can say is the goal of this board is to restore the trust in the public. And we do really want to have these conversations with you. We want you to feel welcome to come here and speak, but we are also going to be looking at ways that we can come to you. So we don't want you to just think that you have 4 minutes here once a month to come and speak to us. We are looking at avenues where, like bagels with the board or something along those lines, where we will be going out into the community where you can hear from us and we can hear from you. It is our job as your elected officials to listen to you and to hear your concerns and to hear your voice. And 4 minutes here is limiting. So I don't want the public to view this as we are trying to shut you down, but we are trying to find alternative ways where we can engage you. The Citizens Advisory Committee, we're trying to explore all avenues. So I did just want to make that clear to the public on behalf of the board that we want to work with you, and we are looking forward to coming up with these ways that we can get out there to engage with you. I think that was pretty much it. Oh, you did mention a couple of other things in the policy, but we haven't changed them. The interrupt, warn, or terminate, that's been the same. And then the disorderly person would just have to be discretion. Anybody else wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none, we're going to close the public forum. The next item on our agenda is the Assistant Superintendent's report. Dr. Lehman?
Sure. So as the school year winds down, I'm sure many of you may have noticed we had a National Honor Society induction this evening in the Performing Arts Center here at the high school. That is something that will be occurring, and congratulations to all the students being inducted. We're very proud of you. Our athletic teams are at various stages of state tournaments, county tournaments, so that's another very exciting occurrence going on. Just a couple updates from our arts program here. So on Friday, the middle school 6th grade chorus bands, the Purple Jazz Band competed at the annual Music in the Parks Festival in Middletown School District. Then they got to go to Six Flags. The weather was not great on Friday, but I don't think that matters. When you're at Six Flags, you still have fun, and it sounds like the students had a good time. So great work with the students and their performances. It's always great just to get out there, especially the younger musicians in the middle school, to get the experience of performing, get them prepared and ready for some of the high-stakes performances we have at the high school. Another thing that came through just recently, so the high school chorus program is happy to announce that 11 students have been accepted into the NJMEA, which is the New Jersey Music Educators Association All-State Chorus for the 24-25 season. These students competed with hundreds of other applicants across the state. These selected students will perform with their respective choral ensembles at an all-state in Atlantic City at the NJPAC in November and in February. It's an outstanding achievement and outstanding recognition for our choral programs. We've been highlighting over the past couple months the achievements of the musical band programs, and this just happens to be the choral highlight. So it's a brief report, so we can keep the meeting flowing along, but it's a time of year that it's a great time of year. It's very busy, but it's also the beginning of our kind of recognition celebratory phase. Things are chaotic, but by the time we have our next meeting, we'll be very close to the graduation, high school graduation, and all our moving up ceremonies. So again, it's exciting, and good luck and congratulations to all the students as we wind down the school year.
Thank you, Dr. Lehman. Our next item is our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Fabiano. So I want to start out by acknowledging, and many of you know, many of you may not, so May is a month of appreciation. So on May, I keep on wanting to say May 4th, but I would be incorrect, on May 6th, it used to be called Teacher Appreciation Week. It has been changed and has morphed into Staff Appreciation. I want to just give a shout out. I know many of the PTOs and PTAs do great things for the staff in the schools, and we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge every staff member, because success is always a team effort, and without question, we have a great team here in Monroe, so it was very exciting to acknowledge our staff members, and I know that was our student board member did mention that, so that was exciting. Additionally, we have another positive thing to say, and this has been going on for many, many years. So Middlesex County, New Jersey Department of Community Services, Replenish Nourishing Neighbors. I did get this email, and I love to see when you see Dear Superintendent, but it's all the good things that our kids do. So there were 12 top schools in the entire state of New Jersey recognized by the Board of County Commissioners, 3 of which are ours. So how fabulous is that? So Applegarth Elementary School, sum of total weight collected, 2,200. 2,200. Brookside Elementary School, 750. Monroe Township High School Key Club, Student Council, 250, with a grand total of 3,200. That is definitely something worth acknowledging. You know, we're always teaching our children about giving back, paying it forward, and it's fabulous. So yeah, I know you want to clap, so we should clap, because I think that's fantastic. I think that's fantastic. Additionally, and I'm kind of going a little bit out of, no, I'm actually going in order. So, and I believe it was already mentioned here this evening, our strategic plan is going to be this Wednesday. I want to say thank you for the people that have been coming out. What's nice is that we understand you're very busy. You can't come to every meeting, and that's not a problem. So we had some people come to both meetings. We had some people some came to the first, some came to the second. We're very excited about it. It's not just something that we do for compliance, because it's not required. So because it's not required, it's not about compliance. It's about coming up with a plan that allows us to know where we were, know where we're going, know where we are, know where we want to be. One comment that's been come up a few times, and it was something that was at school boards last October, and that was Portrait of a Graduate. So that was one of the sessions. And what does that mean? Well, when you look at a graduate, our job here is when we graduate our children, what does that mean? What are they graduating with? Where are they going? What have they experienced? What positives have they come with? What challenges have they endured to make them a better citizen? So the strategic plan is going to do that for us, and we're very excited about that. And that also that guides us in the board goals, the superintendent goals, school goals. So we're excited about that. It is going to be a little bit early this Wednesday. It's 6 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. We hope that you can make it, and if you show up a little late, that's okay too. So and it is right here in the library. 2 things I wanted to comment on. We're very, very proud of our enrichment services, and it was mentioned very briefly, but I do have a little blurb here that I would like to read. So the Monroe Township School District Enrichment Services Club Code this week was our final 2 after-school computer science and robotics enrichment programs that began at Applegarth and Brookside Elementary Schools. Club Code, our district's brand new VEX robotics program, welcomed over 175 of our elementary learners at all 3 buildings to our Monroe Township School District Computer Science and Robotics Initiative. Our district will continue to offer enrichment programs this summer and throughout next school year, and we hope to continue to add the new programs every season. And we are very excited because it's very true. One person can come in to have a conversation, and the next thing you know, we have various different initiatives. Sometimes they start as a pilot program. Sometimes we go all in, depending upon the cost, and we just bring it forth for all of our kids. We're very excited. Additionally, and I know that Dr. Lehman spoke a lot about music, but the 2024 Monroe Township School District Spring Concert Series had its kickoff. Our musicians and staff were very busy this week. Music program will be producing 4 separate concerts this week alone. Including these performances are 2 community events: Friday's Falcon Jazz performance at the Monroe Township Public Library, 35th anniversary celebration, and this Sunday, Honors Percussion Concert at the Smiles for Own Walk Run event. Best of luck to all performers. That is something that I did share in an email to our board. It's near and dear to my heart. Om Parikh was one of my students when I was the principal there. He did lose his life to pediatric brain cancer, and one thing, and he has lovely parents and a lovely sister, Yashashwi, who was one of our graduates, and all they keep on saying is, Shari. That's what I make them call me Shari. I know them that well. Just let that legacy continue. And that's really all it's about. I barely walk in the walk. Some people run fabulously. Some people walk. Please come out and join. Anybody would like a t-shirt, you could privately give me your size, and I'll be happy to provide one. It is something that has been just a great spirit of emotional, financial, real awareness that pediatric cancer and cancer is, I hate to use this word, but I'm going to use it. It's a killer of our children. And, you know, regardless of your belief, who you like, who's in power, who you don't like, what's going on, it's a child. It's children. It's a great opportunity, and I'm going to say this. Every single year, it's forecasted for rain. And every single year, it rains very early in the morning, and every single year, there is a rainbow. It's a wonderful opportunity. And I'm very excited about it. And we do a whole thing in the middle school because, you know, that's where he started his middle school career, and that's where he lost his life. And we have an Ohms Oasis, which is a garden. And his parents come, and we do it around the anniversary of his death as well as the anniversary of his birthday. One is in November, the other one's in February. And various different acts of kindness. And that's all it is. So it's a great time for us to just be kind. And it's all good things. So those are the things I wanted to share. And of course, I love to talk about our Falcons in flight. And I know that's a comment, but I mean it for our retirees. So I know all 3 of them. So our retirees that I'm going to announce this evening is Robert Lemford. He is our night facility staff supervisor, 21 years, a gentleman beyond a gentleman, very quiet, but I always get him to have a conversation with me. And he has dedicated 21 years of service here. Warren Lay is the head custodian at the high school for 15 years. I got to know him because he was one of the representatives for the union, so that's how I got to make his acquaintance. And last but not least, near and dear to my heart, is Edward Malkowitz. He is the lead custodian at middle school for 17 years. I've had a wonderful opportunity to work with him. This year, his wife was one of our employees of the year, and they were both at our staff recognition reception, which was very lovely. So I wish them a safe flight on their newest endeavor as they enjoy their well-deserved retirement. And on that note, under personnel for a 10-member vote, it is recommended the board approve the attached personnel items A through AL.
Motion.
Second.
Any questions, comments?
I have a question.
Alvarez?
For number K, letter K, I mean, the guidance contracts, are they through June 30th? And if so, like, why are we paying extra 20 hours from June 24th through June 28th?
For what letter?
Letter K.
Yeah, I can hear. You want me to answer it? Ready? Okay. So technically, the contract for a school district does go till June 30th, but they do not. They are 10-month employees, and the last day of school is the last day of school. So they are not, it's not double pay. It is literally paying for when they are no longer under the contract of the time. Although we all know that the contract goes to June 30th, they leave with the teachers.
Any other questions? Ms. Ratner?
Yep. So this is actually for the staff count, which is letter C, I believe technically, the enrollment. But I was wondering if it might be possible for us, similar to what we have for our enrollment count for students, where we can see like a 5-year history, if it would be possible to have that for staff as well. I like the fact that we have it broken down so we can see, you know, how many school psychologists we have, how many school counselors. But like, I know, like, you know, there's been, at one of the strategic planning, we were discussing the counselor to student ratio. So to say, well, actually, like, that is a concern, but we've grown from, whatever it says, 22 to 25 within the last 5 years, just to sort of have that visual window to look at. Is that something that would be possible?
I think it's possible, but I don't know if we would give it correct information. I'm going to tell you why. We've actually gone down in the middle school student population and student teams. So I don't have a problem if you want me to prepare the information and then share on it, but I want to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples, because if I say that now we had 22 and now we have 18, oh, so you're getting rid of counselors? No, perhaps instead of having 1,785 children, we have 1,675 children. So that would be my only concern.
Right, no, I just use it as like a random example. I didn't even know if that was the numbers. Sorry. And we do get the enrollment, so like it's easy to see like, oh, well, if there's less teachers, you know, well, because look, if we look at the numbers at Oak Tree, they've gone down from 759 to 594. So there would be that need for it. I do get what you're saying, but I also would love to see where we might be growing, even if it's just a discussion and not an official document.
Or perhaps maybe twice a year. So at the beginning of the school year, this is where we were, let's say 3 years instead of 5 because of the amount of work. Right. So let's say we went 3 years back, and then perhaps we look at it again in April or May and say, now this is where we're at. That might be. I just want to make sure we compare apples to apples.
Yes. Okay, thank you. The other question I had, there's a lot. This is a really big agenda. I feel bad for the new board members who have to learn all this stuff on the first meeting. I think it's item AJ. That's under 10 member, right?
AJ is, yes, it's
That's
10
Is that what we're doing right now, the 10 member? Okay. Number 5, I know it's really big. I was curious what event manager is.
So when we have an activity and it's not part of their required, and you'll correct me, but I believe this is correct, so because he's under the co-curricular. So with the co-curricular programs, when we have an event or an activity that doesn't fall directly under the purview of that individual, then they would get paid additional monies. If it's under the purview of what they do, then they would not be approved to be paid. We would not put it forth to be recommended for payment. So the event may be, so for example, you might, and I know he's music, but it could be an event that's not music. It could be an event that happens to be the play.
Color guard competition.
Color guard competition, so there you go, thank you.
Okay.
So that would not be under his purview of his job responsibility, so therefore he would be permitted to get paid.
Okay, and it would be, just for, I appreciate you sharing that that's what it was. Because I know there's times where we've had the winter guard competition and it has that listed. Is that something that we can do just so we would have that on record?
I don't think that would be, that's fine.
Okay. I think that was it. I will say it's really helpful. I think it's on some parts of the agenda where we have the numbers for the individuals, but then other parts where it's not. If we can have that, that's really helpful. I think I just had that for number 5 with item AJ. If that makes sense. I know.
I believe there may be a reason, but I want to show respect to Ms. Zielinski.
Right. I know it's a lot of work.
I know, and if she says, oh, absolutely, we could add it, and if she says, well, let me tell you why we don't do it.
Right.
Then
just because it was so easy for me to say number 5 as opposed to
Yes,
count 6 down and all of that. So I do appreciate that, and I know this is a lot to do, so I appreciate that.
Do we know what that event is, that he's the site manager?
Color guard.
It's for the color guard?
And what happened was, those 3 staff members for that, so 5, 6, 7, that was an event, they were approved for a certain amount of time. The event was significantly longer than what they were approved for, so this is a retroactive payment for the time that they actually had to engage in the event.
Any other
So
questions? Oh, sorry.
They were approved for the color guard competition
Let's say 2 hours.
for 6 hours, and they were there for 11 hours. So they're each getting an additional 5 hours, or
How, what do you mean, why would they be there 11 hours?
because that was the duration of the event. The event was a full-day event, and they weren't approved initially for the entire event. So the event was underestimated in terms of the time that it was going to last.
So the event planner then had it wrong.
Well, I don't know.
Whoever set the event up. Correct?
I don't know who was wrong or right. I just know that the event was planned for a specific day, and it was a certain time. There were many, many schools involved, and it took longer than expected.
You don't know, you don't know, you don't know?
I don't know if I'm right in saying this, but we host, but it's organized by another
Yes.
entity. So I
yeah,
guess
so we could say they're wrong since it wasn't us. That works.
Then they should pay the price then for these people that,
They do
They-
kind of
they
give
should-
us
they
Use your
should-
mic, please.
The tickets are probably
They
our
sh-
revenue.
No, we make a revenue from
We
it,
do make
yes.
the revenue
Okay.
that day, yes.
Any other questions? Okay, Ms. Allen, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes, recuse on item V for Mr. Ratner and on item AM for Dr. Chanley. I think I got that right.
Mr. Pirro?
what letters are these for again?
We didn't vote on AN yet.
It's A
It's 8L.
A, all the way up to A.
Dr. Lehman is gonna.
Yes, okay, yes.
I have AM.
Yes, but we're only going up to AL.
Dr.
Oh,
Lehman has to
okay.
do this.
Okay.
Oh, got it. Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Yes.
Pirro? Thank you. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. For personnel items
You
under a
want me to do
nine.
it? Want me to do it? Mine?
Oh, I forgot yours.
Yep. It's recommended by the Assistant Superintendent of Schools that the board approve items AM and AN under the 10-member vote.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
We have a roll call, please?
Yes. Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
I'm going to recuse on item AM.
Okay.
Otherwise, yes.
Okay. Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Now, thank you. Under a 9-member vote for personnel, it is recommended the board approve the attached personnel items AD.
No, AO.
I had to pick it up, I don't see. AO through BV.
Motion.
Second.
AO, what was that again? I'm sorry.
BV.
BV as in Victor.
Second? Did anyone second? Oh, okay. All right. I didn't hear it. Sorry.
Oh, questions? Sorry.
I have a question.
Ms.
Just
Alvarez?
real quick, can you explain what the 103.57% is on BP? Page 34 of 54. BP. I think you have it there.
Is this it?
Yep.
The 103.57?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. They work more than the 100%. So it usually can be anything from 15 minutes a day to 30 minutes a day, but it's calculated at the rate that we would need to pay them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? For roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes, but no on, I have to find it, this is a big agenda, you're right. No on page 33, Christina Zawicki.
Okay. Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
No on Christina Zawicki and no on Rick Fontaine. Yes on everybody else.
Can I go back and change my vote in this, please?
Mr. Zeigner?
Can I change my vote?
Is that allowed? No.
No.
Okay.
He can? Oh, yes, go ahead.
Okay, I would agree the same, okay, except for Swawicki and also Fontaine, no.
Okay. Ms. Ratner?
Yes to all.
Okay. Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes to all, no to Ms. Zawicki.
Okay, so motion passes.
Okay. Under board action for a 10-member vote, it is recommended the board approve the attached board action items A through Y.
Is there a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Ms. Ratner?
Yep, I had a question about the policy 0155, which I was there for the meeting, so I'm sorry I'm bringing these up now, but I totally forgot about it until Ms. Arminio had spoken. I do believe this goes back for a second read anyway, but I was wondering if we might want to put something in there regarding the size of committees, whether we have the representative from Jamesburg, because I know there was a concern with quorum about
Yeah,
that.
there is legal guidance that we received regarding formation of committees that don't have our Jamesburg representative only have 4 members plus an alternate, whereas if Dr. Peck or the Jamesburg rep is on the committee, then we would have 5.
Is that something that we can add to the policy, just because as it stands, it says that there would be 4 board members plus the president, which would be 5. So it would be good to have that, just because it's not written anywhere that I see.
Mr. Gagliardi,
Yeah.
would you advise?
I think that's easier, it would be clear to the public
Okay.
and clear to the board member.
Okay. Okay, so we'll just.
No, it goes back for revisions
And then we can do
to
it
committee, and then we
Yeah,
could do
that's what we did with
Mhm.
policy 0167.
And then I did just,
Do we not vote on it today?
We didn't vote on it yet. We're
Okay.
gonna vote on it now.
and just like,
Take out the motion?
No, we're gonna vote on it, I think, and then the committee can take it
But
back
we'll
to
go
do
ahead
it.
and vote on it.
Yep.
right, just like last month, if we can discuss it, make the modifications, and then bring that back with those revisions for the second read
Right.
next month. The other 2 questions I had were regarding just 2 of the contracts. So one was for Huddle. I was curious, is that also offered for our middle school sports games? I had looked at the contract. I thought I just saw high school, but I was wondering. Okay, so it's just for the high school. And then my other question was regarding GoFan. I'm a big fan of the online payment. I think it helps to increase enrollment and everything like that. I was curious if we're able to start utilizing this for other things such as field trips and things of that nature, just to eliminate the idea of losing checks and all of that.
Yes. So we were very excited when the board approved it, and we see the success with it. Mr. Barandica works very closely also with Ms. Winna, who is our coordinator at the middle school. So it's something that we want to continue, and I do agree with you, because we have plays at the middle school, at the high school. So now that we feel the success of it, and we feel the burden, I mean, I know it's a cost, but the community has not seen it as a burden because they are utilizing it. So yes, the answer is absolutely.
Any other questions? Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Ratner?
You had to do me first. Okay, yes to all. Recuse on item A for Mr. Snyder. Yes, that's all.
Okay.
Sorry.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. For board action under a 9-member vote, it is recommended the board approve the attached board action items Z through AG.
Motion?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes.
I want to thank everyone and wish everybody well. I know that I wasn't here. You knew I was out for surgery, but I did want to welcome you, and we have a new board member orientation tomorrow where I will be present. So welcome aboard, wishing you the best of luck, of course. And Memorial Day is almost upon us, so I wish everybody a very happy, healthy, and safe Memorial Day. Thank you very much. That concludes my report.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is our business administrator's report.
Okay, it's recommended that board action items A through AB be approved by consent roll call under a 10-member vote.
Motion?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Ms. Ratner?
I really tried to minimize it, I swear. Just a question for, I guess it's item A, numbers 4 through 15. Is it a requirement to list the addresses for the individuals that are receiving payment? I don't remember having seen that before, but I could just not be remembering correctly.
Yes, we typically do that. We have
Okay.
been doing that, yeah.
I know we do it sometimes for businesses. I just didn't remember seeing it for individuals, but I guess they are vendors in their own right.
They
so.
are vendors, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Can we have a roll call, please?
Let's see. Ms. Ratner?
Yes, recuse on item B, the bill list, B62906 and B63120 for Mr. Snyder, and B, think I wrote this right, 62882 for Dr. Chanley.
Okay. Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Dr. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes, recuse on items related to the learning tree on the bill list.
Okay. Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes to all, no on T.
Okay. Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay. It is recommended that board action item AC be approved by consent roll call under a 9-member vote.
Motion.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, can we have a roll call?
Yes. Ms. DePayne?
Yes.
Ms. Bora?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner?
Yes.
Ms. Ratner?
Yes.
Ms. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Pirro?
Yes.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Ms. Fabiano?
Yes.
Motion passes. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Next item on the agenda is the board president's report. So first, I'd like to welcome back Dr. Chanley from her leave, and I hope that everybody enjoyed their Mother's Day yesterday. I also want to publicly thank the board and administration for their efforts and collaboration over the past week. With very limited turnaround time between the reorganization meeting, committees, and the general board meeting, it truly was a team effort, and I just wanted to make sure you all know that your work was and is truly appreciated. Last week was Teacher, Staff, and Nurses Appreciation Week, and I hope you all know how lucky we are to have you all here and how much we value you. Monroe would not be the district that it is without your hard work and dedication to our students, so thank you. There are some exciting events coming up, as Dr. Lehman and Dr. Chanley have both mentioned. It's a very busy time of year. The third and final strategic planning meeting, Designing Goals and Objectives, will be taking Wednesday at 6 o'clock right here in the Media Center. It is open to all staff and community members, and I hope that you'll be able to join us. We're going to be using the information that we put together from this final meeting to put forth and help set us on a path for our Citizens Advisory Committee and set our district objectives. So I hope you can join us. Next week, we will be honoring our student seniors at the Senior Awards Ceremony. It's one of my favorite nights of the year, and I'm looking forward to celebrating all their accomplishments. And lastly, as you mentioned, Memorial Day is coming up, so I just want to thank our veterans, especially our own Dr. Lehman, for Memorial Day is fast approaching, and while many of us take the time to celebrate the unofficial start of summer, it is also a time to reflect on our freedoms and honor those who fought and fight to allow us to maintain them. So thank you all very much. Our next item on the agenda is other board business. Do any board members have anything that they would like to bring up?
You're both trying to let other people go first. I just wanted to also, once again, reiterate thanks to our teachers and to our staff members for all they do. And thank you to our PTAs, PTOs for all the events they put together and for everything they've done to honor our teachers. It's, like what we do, it's unpaid volunteer work, and so it is greatly appreciated. I am very excited about a lot of these upcoming events. I forget which one of you had mentioned it, the Falcon Jazz Band performing at the library. I love that the collaboration between the two groups. And so I believe my daughter and my husband will both be performing, so I don't know if I'll be there or if I'll be watching the boys, but very excited about it. I also was just told my daughter might be singing at the Walk for Ohm, so I don't know if it's chamber singers or a group of them that is singing as well, but I know that the percussion symphony will be there also, so that should be really nice. Concert season gets really crazy in our house. Thank you to all of the teachers who put in the time to go to all of the concerts because of vertical instruction. They go to a lot of concerts. And also thank you to a lot of our coaches for all the extra time they have to put, not that they have to, but that they do put in with everything going on now with, oh my God, I can't think of the word, championships and playoffs and all of that. It's really, truly appreciated. The other thing I just wanted to mention, as far as New Jersey School Board Association, the legislative committee meeting had gotten postponed from this upcoming Saturday to June 1st, so there's a little bit more time. I will share the information when I get it. It'll still be before our next committee meeting, so if there's anything that board members would want to see discussed, I actually found out that it's one of our representatives that will be there. I cannot remember the Assemblywoman.
Danielle?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes, she'll be present at the legislative committee meeting on the 1st. So it's definitely a great way to have some direct interaction with her. And then also just a reminder, they had changed the governance rules. So for our new board members, you do have to do the governance one within 90 days. And because we have a unique situation of an April election, I don't believe there are any in-person trainings. So just make sure that that gets done within that first 90 days. I know Ms. Fabiano and Ms. Bora and I had to do it online, and I do think we would have all preferred to do it in person, but we gotta do what we gotta do. So I think that's everything. And thank you all very much.
Any other board members wishing to speak? Ms. Bora?
Yeah, I just want to, last board meeting I had put in a plug for Reputation. I want to just give an update that I was there, and GoFan was used to sell the tickets, and before the show, the leadership of the South Asian Club said that they sold about 700 tickets. The auditorium was filled to capacity, and the quality of the show was better than some of the theaters that I've seen. They just had a few glitches with lighting and microphones, but it was students working, and so it was all understandable, but we were all bowled over, and there was a lot of, and I did personally post about it on Facebook, I had a lot of community members reach out and say, why did we not know about it? So I know this was their first year doing it. Hopefully there'll be more publicity going forward, but a huge shout out to the incredible number of students that performed that night and did an amazing job. To what you said, Dr. Chandy, about the WEX and robotics program, I have to say that Monroe was a little late in getting started on that, but I feel like we are going at lightning speed, and we've, our students that are in these clubs have put us on the national map. So it's a really heartwarming thing to see how quickly we have, caught on, and we're probably going to be the envy of our neighboring districts soon with this program. Lastly, I do want to also give a shout out to the two custodians that are retiring, Mr. Lay and Eddie from middle school. I know Mr. Lay from elementary school, and I have to say that these people are always working, behind the scenes, and they accommodate teachers, students, PTA members. That's how I know them. And these two gentlemen were really, really very helpful. So I hope they enjoy their retirement. And lastly, about OHM 5K. A lot of students from this district are learning a lot of leadership lessons by volunteering for this event, and that's what I wanted to talk about. They've been having these volunteer meetings, and I know so many students in our district that have been part of this event, from becoming community coordinators and getting people to sign up, wrapping little bottles with positive messages, putting little pebbles all around the trail. There'll be kids doing crowd control that morning, mapping the course, and all of these are our students. So this event truly does bring the community together. It takes hundreds of volunteers. There is a 1 mile walk and a 5K run. If you are free on Sunday, please join this event. It has really brought the community together for a cause like pediatric cancer, and they've made a difference in the last 5 years by doing this, and I will be there proudly, and I hope many of you will join this event. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pirro?
I'd like to just thank the staff and teachers and everybody, support staff, for what they do every year for the kids, and all the behind-the-scenes people, custodians, security, that are out there helping our kids every day. There was one thing that concerned me this last week, and I just feel like I need to bring it up, that on May 8th, several parents sent me a Facebook text that said that we had left children stranded in the high school parking lot after school. I'm not aware of this, and I would just like to know if you're aware, is there anything to it? Did you get any complaints about it? Because
I mean, I was on leave, but I was checking and responding to my email, and Dr. Lehman and I were texting. It's the first I've heard of it.
yeah, several parents sent me the post, and I wasn't aware of anything, and I figured I would ask. Thank you.
Ms. Ratner?
I did just also, I had neglected, I try to always do this, the donations, just to thank the Booster Club for their donation of a flagpole with solar light for the high school baseball field, as well as a donation of a Bamboo Lab X1 carbon 3D printer with filament. I don't know half the words I just said, but thank you to the high school from Mr. Vispi Kassad and his family. So thank you to both of them for doing that.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, the next item on our agenda is public forum. Anybody wishing to speak, please state your name and municipality at the podium.
Good evening, Steve Ryback, Riviera Drive, Monroe. I'm honored to stand before you this evening as the new president of the Monroe Township Education Foundation. Allow me to explain a little about what an education foundation does. New Jersey public schools are funded by state and local taxes. Over the past few years, state funding has not met the needs of our district and others. Envisioning the future of public school funding means recognizing that in order to maintain successful or innovative programs and services, other sources of funding must be found. Fortunately for many students in New Jersey public schools, committed volunteers have taken the initiative to create local foundations to support their districts. These foundations create needed programs through the individual and business donations. With this new Board of Education, Monroe's Education Foundation is excited about developing programs with the support of the school community to benefit our students and teachers. We already have plans to form committees for membership and fundraising. This morning, our Vice President, Dr. Sharon Morgan, and I met with Dr. Lehman, and we discussed some general project possibilities, such as, and these are only possibilities, Green Initiative, bottle filling stations district-wide, Capturing Kids' Hearts, which is social-emotional relationships, student connectedness, possible strings program development, bringing a world-class performing artist to work with our students and ensembles in band, chorus, and percussion, SAT prep, technology, expansion of STEM robotics, computer sciences to grade 5, and also support of our unified program throughout the district. So we already have a wide array of possible programs. What we need is the support of our school community. Back to School will be a key part for our membership initiative. Please keep an eye open and support our schools by joining the MEF as well as your PTAs and PTOs. Thank you, Mrs. Fabiano, for your encouragement and assistance. Thank you, Dr. Lehman, for your time, expertise, and willingness to be a liaison to our foundation. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Sorry. Good evening, John Zawacki, Monroe. I'm calling, I just was watching the online and trying to put my kids to bed after softball today and saw that multiple people voted no on my wife today. I saw, looking at the meeting minutes, that there were 5 other teachers up for grades set 10, 10A, 10B, 11 that were also up for renewal or for first year. I don't know if it's first year, I'm new to board stuff, but they were all there at a high pay scale, new, and they were all said approved, but my wife was not approved. So at the end, I'd like to get answers from everyone that said no, their reasoning why they said no. Because I also, my wife has 17 years experience at New York City DOE, 2 years experience at a professional development company. She was the client implementation director. She also is starting, while she was at the PD place, she also learned the newer standards that will be coming out in New Jersey. So I'm curious as to why people on this board said no when the majority said yes, and thankfully she was approved, and she plans on making sure that it's a approval that was good. I'm sorry, I'm kind of furious right now because some people did say no, and it also is, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. What I got left? That my wife didn't have a fair shot from the beginning. She got thrown under the bus on Facebook by board president's husband. So none of the other people that I saw, no one said anything about their salaries when they came in. So I don't know why it was my wife. And it was also said in a deleted Facebook post that it's about who you know. My wife didn't tell anyone that she was applying. My wife applied to the job. She talked to Dr. Chetta, gave her demo lesson to Dr. Chetta, ended up staying an extra hour longer. And when she met with Dr. Chanley, Dr. Chanley said that Dr. Chetta did nothing but talk praise about my wife. So I'm just very shocked that there was no's. And then also at the previous Facebook post about how I took all screenshots of this, so it's not like I'm making this up, that there was a quote that there are situations where this might make sense, like a biology teacher or something specialized in the high school, sure, but it should be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. Talking about my wife coming in at a high salary. I did some research, so the person thought that they shouldn't be coming in at a high salary in a elementary school setting. I did some research in schools around the area, and saw in 2022, East Brunswick kindergarten teacher making over $92,000. And so I just, is that your salary?
Correct.
So that's hypocritical that's said, but then that's coming in as a elementary school teacher, it's hypocritical.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I'm just hoping with these answers too, I know there's someone that takes a lot of video and posts video clips. I hope the answers that I get that are shared with everyone, so you guys are transparent, because I know a lot of the new board members ran on transparency, so, and that the previous board wasn't as transparent. And yes, we are friends with the Scurbys. We met them through baseball, and it wasn't about who you know. Like my wife said, she did not say a word to anyone. She wanted to get this on her own merit, and she did, and I'm proud of her. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, that is my salary. You're correct. I've been teaching in East Brunswick for almost 20 years. So that's.
And my wife has 17 years.
That's correct.
So it should be.
I'm not going to discuss personnel matters or anything along those lines. I can only speak to the way that I voted, and I have expressed this, that I do not feel, given our financial situation, that we should be hiring at the top of the salary guide. I'm sure that your wife is phenomenal. It has nothing to do with your wife. Your wife, I'm sure, is amazing. She's going to do wonderful for our students. I have every confidence in that. I do not feel that we should be hiring at the top of the salary guide.
What about the other 5 teachers that were hired at the top of the salary guide?
They were, from what I saw, they weren't. Your wife was just hired 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Right. That was my.
But there were some that were hired in October and September of last year, and they were approved now without any problem.
Mm-hmm. I'm not arguing that.
Okay. So, but the reasoning is that it's high salary just for my wife, but no one else.
No, it's just, your wife was just hired 2 months ago, and I do not feel that we should be hiring any further at the top of the salary guide. I didn't support the vote in last month either.
I know, yeah, you were the only one that did.
Right. You're correct.
Any other votes that said no?
No comment.
No. Time is up.
Thank you.
How you doing? Ken Chiarella, 116 Pergola Avenue, Monroe Township. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the people who won. But I also would like to just say, Mr. Fabiano threatened me as I was coming up here to speak. Said he was going to punch me in the face and then made up some stuff about guns or whatever. That's a problem. I'll tell you what another problem is. That we have board members here on your first meeting calling out teachers and then voting no on them and calling them out by name. I think it's disgusting, to tell you the truth. And I'd also like to just mention one thing. I think Mr. Tufano did an excellent job as Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation. And I think he was probably dismissed and replaced because Mr. Tufano started to post about Mr. Fabiano's arrest record. So that's my guess. But I would just like to say that I was just threatened as I came up here to speak, and I'm going to press charges tonight. Thank you.
Great, so I'm going to address that. So, Mr. Chiarella, you can speculate all that you want. Mr. Tufano elected not to be on any committees. It is my discretion as the president to decide who I want to be on which committees. I did put Mr. Pirro as chair of the committee, seeing as he's been in the district for over a decade. He has more knowledge of our schools than any one of these board members sitting up here. That's my choice. It has nothing to do with my husband, which you so conveniently always try to throw in to any type of social media post that you put out there. So that's all I have to say. It has nothing to do with my husband.
Is the clock stopped?
No, the clock keeps going.
It should stop.
It's not. The policy was
Because-
just voted through, so it's going to keep going.
Oh, I see. All I have to say is, this is disgusting. You shouldn't do that to a teacher ever. And no matter what you guys think, you're on the wrong side. And you're going, eventually, it's going to be reflected by the public. They're going to come in here and they're going to throw you all out. But I do want to say that Usha Sharma, congratulations.
Thank you.
I still like you a lot. So that's it. Thank you.
Brian Fabiano, Monroe. I wasn't going to say anything, but, unfortunately, I guess fortunate that we have finally seen the keyboard warriors come from within the drones of their basements, finally show up and accuse some crazy things here tonight. I understand Mr. Chiarella's candidates that he supported didn't win. Hey, things happen. The voters spoke, and they spoke clearly, and that's why we have the board members seated here tonight. So I expect that we'll probably hear the noise meeting after meeting after meeting, but what Mr. Chiarella doesn't understand, what every board member is taught when you go through the training, is that there is fiscal responsibility, and you as board members have to make financial decisions. This district, we just went out to a vote. We didn't have any money. We needed taxpayers to pay more, and then you get ridiculed for wanting to do your job, what you're required to do. Listen, I'm glad that we're not in a position like East Brunswick or South Brunswick where they have to make $6 to $8 million in cuts. But don't let the keyboard warriors that, like I said, come out of their basements, that feel special, ruin the good things that you can do as a board. You have a good board here, and that's with past and new board members that sit here. I think you all collectively bring good things to the table. And you have a good administration here that I think has said and already demonstrated that they want to work with this board. So I think as a public, we're excited to see what you can bring forward and what you can drive the changes in this district. Listen, not everything in this district was broken. We know that there are a lot of things that we can do better. And I think that you all collectively can do that. And I think you can do it with every board member sitting here, as long as you truly all want to work together. So you're going to hear like I said, the cryings and the whinings and all the BS things. just do what you're doing, use your experience. I am very proud to see somebody like Mr. Pirro on this board who came from the inside, that knows what goes on in a school district, what works, what doesn't work, just like some of the teachers here that work in this profession day in, day out. That's not something to attack somebody on. I think that experience is what's going to take us to the next level. And with administration's support, I think we can get it done. So minimize the craziness that's going to come here. We'll be here to support you through your meetings, and just keep doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to address the board?
Sarah Aziz, I live in Monroe Township. I have a question about what the board plans to do to address our overcrowding crisis. We still have one. The last demographer's report, I believe, was prepared in 2021 by Ross Haber Associates that gave us a flawed report in the past that took a month for Dr. Alvik and Mr. Gorski to correct. And so its latest report was not consistent with all prior reports, and I'm wondering how long is a demographer's report valid for? Because I believe the latest one was created in 2021, and if we were to put forth a new referendum, would we need a new demographer's report? That's my question.
First, I want to make the statement that his report was not flawed. He was actually quite accurate. He did do a 10-year projection within a 5-year period of time. I do remember being on some of the planning for that as a principal. And just to let you know, you'll be very happy to know that in our budget is a demographer's report, the cost for that. So that will be the next part. We're very excited about doing a plan and sticking to it, and we think that the strategic action plan is really going to allow for input not only from our community, but for us to work together, and the demographer's report will definitely play a role.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none, we're going to close the public forum. Our next, we do not need a second closed session. Our next scheduled Board of Education meeting is Wednesday, June 12th, 2024. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.